What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 830. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the line all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, you ready to jump into some rares and mythic rares and bonus sheets today?
Let's do it. This set's been pretty fun. I've been enjoying my drafts this week. It's not the most complicated set, and there's a lot of really good rares, but we're going to talk about those today, so that's pretty sweet.
That's right. This is the set review for rares, mythic rares, and bonus sheet, where we go over every single one of them that are present in the packs of, in this case, Last Airbender, and we give you our breakdown of them. This way, you'll know when you open up a sweet bomb rare whether to take it or whether it might be a trap. Before we do, we want to say thank you to each and every person who supports us on Patreon. Patreon.com/limited resources is where you can go to support us. And we just want to say thanks to people who support us there. It means a lot to us. We also want to say thank you to Ultimate Guard for their support of the show. They make some amazing products to protect your cards, your decks, and your collection. That's right, all the way down to the card level with things like sleeves, deck boxes for your decks, even long boxes to hold multiple decks, and binders, backpacks, etc. to protect your whole collection. You can see their full line of products at ultimateguard.com. If you want to pick up something, you can get it at your favorite online retailer or local game store. Thank you, Ultimate Guard. We do appreciate it. Luis, before we jump in, we are going to be giving these cards a grade.
Yeah, we use our typical grading scale, A through F letter grades with two subgrades, sideboard and build around. Sideboard, not so much this particular review. Build around, there should be plenty. So A's, these are bombs, game winners, cards that are good in many situations, especially in behind, and just the best cards in the set. We're talking cards like Quantum Riddler or Ouroboros. B's are cards that actively pull you towards their colors, their decks, the headliners for a set, their go-to cards, and the reasons to be in a particular color pair or theme. A lot of solid removal. We're talking cards like Station Monitor or Monolith Circuit Feeders, the best commons and good uncommons. C's are playables. These are the pawns of limited. They're pretty interchangeable, and you end up playing a bunch of them in your deck. We're not going to see too many of these in the Rare and Mythic review. We're talking cards like Bombard or Thawbringer. D's are cards that you would prefer not to play. They're a little bit below the bar, mediocre, a little bit too situational, a little bit too expensive. Cards like Kavaron Sky Warden or Cloud Sculpt Technician. F's, see a lot of F's in the rare review actually. These are cards that are unplayable in virtually all scenarios, incredibly narrow, incredibly expensive, refer to types or situations that don't really happen in limited. Cards like Cosmogoyf. Our subgrades are sideboard. Again, I don't expect to see too many of those. If cards that you wouldn't play in the main deck, but could be good out of the sideboard. And lastly, build around. These are cards that on their own don't do much or anything, but if you build around them, they can be all-stars. Cards like Weft Walking or Terra Symbiosis.
You know, Luis, you've spent a good chunk of your adult career, to the extent that we can call you an adult, as a game designer. If somebody had submitted a C, like a card that you would pretty much give a C in the rare or mythic rare level, would that be something that you'd say, nah, we need to go a different direction? Like it needs to be either better or worse or different or something like that. I was just thinking that when you mentioned how we don't really see C's at the level, is that by design?
Well, I don't know if it's specifically by design, because as a designer, you don't usually do a cross-check of like, how is this going to perform in limited, especially at the rare level, because it doesn't really matter that much. Mm-hmm. It just naturally does fall like that because C's are cards that are like playable but not too powerful, and rares tend to be higher on power level on average. That's one of the reasons you see fewer of them. And because they tend to be more complicated and do more things, they're more likely to cluster at the higher low grades as a result of that as well, because they're more likely to be like a build around. They're maybe only good in a specific situation, or they're just a card like an F that you would never play. C's can happen as rares. We're going to see some. We always do. But yes, generally rares tend to be a little bit more exciting or do a little bit more. So it's not that being a C in limited is like a disqualification factor for a rare. I can imagine, I bet if I look through a set, I could find some pretty good rare designs that are also season limited, but they naturally won't land there.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks. I always wonder about that when we talk about it. Let's get into it. We're going to start with green. We like to rotate which color we start with. Our first card up is called Earthen Ally. It is green for a 0/2 human soldier ally at rare. And it says this creature gives +1/+0 for each color among allies you control. So it counts itself, right? So it's a 1/2 and can get up to the full 5. And then it has an activated ability, though it's kind of absurd. It's 2 and Wooburg. So 2 and 1 mana of each color, 7 mana total. But you do get to Earthbend 5 if you're living that full dream. So if we just took that second clause off, because most decks won't be able to do that, what are you thinking about a 2/2 or maybe a 3/2 for 1 mana?
If it's reliably a 2/2, which I think it will be pretty easy to, they were not skimpy when it came to the ally type.
Boy, they just kind of spewed that out over everything, didn't they?
I feel like if you're in any Bant color combination, which is to say like white, green, or blue, white, you could never look at a type line and you will have over 10 allies in your average deck. And,
That's right.
if you want it to be more, you could have it be more. So I think this card is probably baseline solid just because of that. Because in white green, this is just going to be a 2 mana or 1 mana 2/2 that counts as an ally. That's not that bad. I do think that there's some crazy 5-color stuff you can do. Like the cycle of common lands, the green has multiple good fixing. I mean, even like the Katara's water sack or whatever, the water pouch that untaps every turn, Coalition Relic. Those cards all kind of work fairly well. But I would say Earth and Ally, I would look at it as just an aggressive like green-white card to start with, or sometimes blue-green, but blue-green is not, most of the allies decks play white, even though blue-green can have a pretty good amount of allies. I would say this is mostly just like an aggressive green-white card, and you can, if you can want to go for the 5-color thing, it's got some juice there. This is probably a good example of a C in limited. It's like a C, but like build around B. If you do get there on Earthbend 5, that is really good.
It is pretty good, but it is still 7 mana per. I mean, you should be able to win the game off of that at some point, but that's a lot of colors and even a large amount of mana. Yeah, maybe we found a C straight away.
There we go.
Kind of funny.
Next card is not a C. We've got Badger Mole Cub. This card is making waves and constructed as well. So 1 and a green for a 2/2 Badger Mole at Mythic. When it enters Earthbend 1, and when you tap a creature for mana, add an additional green. So on turn 3, if you cast this and Earthbend on your untapped land, it just taps for 2 mana right away. It's like you cast this for basically only 1 mana. And if you cast this on turn 2 and then you untap with it, on turn 3, you end up with 4 mana. You're up 1 mana. And if you have multiple Earthbent lands, it's quite good. So, I mean, this isn't like a bomb rare, but I would say it's a B, and I would take it a lot of the times that I saw it.
Yeah, this is a type of card that if you play on turn 2, it's going to have a big impact on the game, but it doesn't just win the game for you on its own. Next up is Great Divide Guide. This is 1 and a green for a 2/3 human scout ally at rare. And it says each land and ally you control has tap, add 1 mana of any color. So this thing taps for 1 mana of any color. It makes all your lands tap for any color. And then as you mentioned, it's quite trivial to get critical massive allies in your deck. And those also would then tap for any color. Kind of a good combo with the Earth and Ally somehow.
I actually had a deck with 3 of these. It was pretty sick.
With 3 Great Divide Guides?
Yeah, really weird. My first 2 picks of the draft were Great Divide Guide, and then I got past another one in pack 2. But at 2 mana for a 2/3 ally that taps for any color would already be pretty good. And you add the fact that now your other allies tap for any color. The fact that your lands tap for any color isn't like hugely relevant, but it does mean sometimes you top deck this, cast it, and you immediately can cast your off-color spell you've been holding. So I would give Great Divide Guide a B as well. In fact, I would probably just give retroactively Badger Mole Cub and the Divided Guide a B+. I think that they're pretty good mainstays. Like, they're a good way to start a deck. So I like B+ on both of these pretty strong mana generators.
Agreed. I mean, because also the Cub does give you 3 power and 3 stats for 2 mana, and the Guide gives you 5. So, those are both quite good too. Just at baseline. Next up is Earthbender Ascension. This is 2 and a green for an enchantment. It's rare. It says when this enchantment enters Earthbend 2, so you get a 3 mana, but you do get to Earthbend 2. And it says then search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle. Wow. So you're getting quite a bit there just to have it ETB. Then it has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. When you do, if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains trample until end of turn. Wow, that is a lot. Jeez.
So even without the Ascension part, 3 mana to get Earthbend 2 plus a basic land out of your deck, that is not that bad of a card. I mean, that's a 3 mana 2/2 plus a ramp.
And it's also spotting you the first quest counter for free. Is that right?
Yes, it is also spotting you the first quest counter for free.
Jeez. Because some of these, you read these ascensions and you're like, okay, what? I have to do how much stuff? And then even when you get it to the full quest, you're kind of disappointed about the payoff. This thing just gives you all the goods up front and then even makes it fairly easy to get the quest. And the quest is good. +1/+1 counters and trample is really good. Damn.
Yeah,
that's a heck of a card, dude.
I would just give Earthbender Ascension an A.
I would too.
I think this card is just really strong, and you don't have to do any work to make it good, which is certainly part of it. Though it does get better when you do put it in a deck that has a lot of earthbending and mana ramping and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, this is the type of card that has a very high floor and a reasonably high ceiling and asks nothing of you. So A for Earthbender Ascension. Next, Avatar Destiny. This is 2 GG for an enchantment aura. This is rare. It says enchant creature you control. All right, 4 mana aura on my creature. This thing better be everything. It says enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard and is an avatar in addition to its other types. Not impressed so far. It says when enchanted creature dies, mill cards equal to its power. Return this card to its owner's hand and up to 1 creature card milled this way to the battlefield under your control. Wow. This is kind of the ultimate, you have to land this. Like it just has to resolve on your creature.
So if you can do some self-milling to kind of kick things off and you play this and you're giving like +3/+3, then the creature dies. And let's say it was a 2/2 to start with. You mill 5, get this back, and probably put a creature into play if you have a creature dense deck. That can be strong. I actually lost really badly to this one game. So I got to do the Marshall, like, you got to beat me with it. But I still think it's a pretty narrow card. So what they were doing with this was they had a green-black deck with a bunch of sack stuff. And they're like, put this on a thing, sack it, put a creature into play, get this back, put this on a thing, sack it. Like, and you can't do it too many times because now it starts giving like +6/+6 and you're milling yourself too much because it's not optional.
Oh, sure.
But basically, they got to like play this, pump a creature, sack that creature to get another creature into play, pump that creature, do it one more, and then had like a +6 or +7 on Avatar Destiny, and it was pretty good. Overall, I think this card's probably like a build around B, but it's like a D if you just put it in like a red-green deck or something. Like, don't put this card in your deck unless you really mean it. I mean, there's a couple cards in the set that are like that, you know?
Yeah, I think that I like what you said about the build around with sacrifice, because I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, Airbend is just a core mechanic in the set. Doesn't that just completely jack this thing up?
Oh, totally. And
then there's also removal that is enchantment based. There's also
get to some of these other cards, but
then there's also removal that's enchantment based that just locks the creature down but doesn't actually kill it. Then there's also exile removal. Like,
I think probably 9 out of 10 times, maybe 9.5 out of 10 times, someone puts this in their deck. It's a mistake, but there are. Like, I did the first time I ever saw it, I was like, no, that wasn't that bad. So It's got some potential. This is one of those, like, for advanced users only, like, if you really know what's going on and how to make this work, I think there is something here. But most of the time, you should just probably not play it. It's a little bit like Yawgmoth's Will in Cube, where like you got to be serious about it before you cast Yawgmoth's Will. Most people who put it in their deck are probably hurting their win percentage.
Yeah, especially because this can become a liability in the late game.
This is good with Yawg-Will, by the way. It feels like great there. So.
Next up is Diligent Zookeeper. This is 3 and a green for a 4/4 human citizen ally at rare. It says each non-human creature you control gets +1/+1 for each of its creature types to a maximum of 10. I guess they needed that for changelings or something. So what counts as a type?
Like Badger Mole is 2 types.
Badger Mole is 2. Is ally a type?
Yeah. But you're not going to
anything on that list that's not a human to start with.
But that's the thing is, like, I don't even know if they're Appa, I guess. There's a couple non-human allies, but the vast majority of allies are humans. So it's not.
So it's a 4 mana 4/4 with marginal upside?
Well, it's a little bit more than marginal because almost every animal in the Avatar universe is a hybrid and has 2 types. So it's going to give +2/+2 to all your non-humans. Like that's not that bad.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Okay, that seems pretty good.
Yeah. So I think Diligent Zoo. I would give it a B.
Yeah.
Like, it's also a 4 mana 4/4 ally.
Yeah.
That's not that bad. So
that'll go
in red green is like 4 power matters. Like it's a solid card.
Touching enough stuff. Next up is the Earth King. This is 3 and a green for a 2/2 legendary human noble ally at rare. And it says, when the Earth King enters, create a 4/4 green bear creature token. So far, we're 4 mana for a 2/2 and a 4/4. And it says, whenever one or more creatures you control with power 4 or greater attack, search your library for up to that many basic land cards, that many being the number of attackers, right? Put them onto the battlefield, tapped, and then shuffle. That is insanity. Also, the bear token is not legendary, so if you blink or bring it back from the graveyard, you can just get more of them.
Also, the bear token, it's actually like one of the only animals that's just a bear, and that's like a running joke. It's like,
that's funny.
Is that just a bear?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it is just a bear.
It doesn't have like an otter tail.
I mean, this card's obviously ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
I would give this an A+. Like 4 mana, you get a 4/4 and a 2/2. And you start ramping. Also, if you have a board and you play this, you just start ramping that turn when one of your other creatures attack. Like, there's no downsides to the Earth King. If you draft the Earth King, first of all, you just put it in your deck. You'll win a lot. It's great. Second, this is the kind of card where I'm looking for ways to get it back from the graveyard, return target permanent from your graveyard, make a clue, that sort of thing. Because when you have a really, really good creature, recycling it is an easy way to get a lot of extra mileage. So A+ for the Earth King. The King has
incredible. Jeez. Next green card is Elemental Teachings. This is 4 and a green for an instant. It's a lesson. It's rare. It says search your library for up to 4 land cards with different names and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards, put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Nah.
I would basically just give this an F.
Yeah.
You just can't spend 5 mana to start ramping your lands. That's just not really a functional strategy. So,
and plus you may not have 4 different types. Like there's way too many knocks on this thing, but it's too late to start ramping at turn 5. Last green card is called The Legend of Kyoshi. This is 4 green for an enchantment saga. It's mythic rare. It has 3 chapters. The first chapter is draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. It's pretty good. Chapter 2 is Earthbend X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. That land becomes an island in addition to its other types. There's some legend happening here that I don't know about. And then chapter 3 is Exile This Saga.
Evergreen mood for Marshall during this set.
Yeah. Exile, the one I might have known about was Spider-Man. Chapter 3 is Exile the Saga, then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control, where it becomes Avatar Kyoshi, which is a legendary creature avatar. It's a 5/4, and it says lands you control have trample and hexproof, and it taps to add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Yeah, I mean, this looks awesome. The only weak point, is that you do need something on the board to make it go. It doesn't have to be a 6/6, right? Having a 3 or 4 is like totally fine.
3/3 is like the threshold for me, where if I played this with a 3/3 on the board, I would still feel pretty good about this, where like you're drawing 3 and then next turn, you've got at least 4 cards in your hand when the avatar pops or the saga pops. Probably more, unless this was literally your last card. So you're spending 4 or 5, probably earthing 5 or 6, to be honest. And then you get a 5/4 that gives your lands trample, hexproof, and taps for a ton of mana.
Yeah. So it's worth the risk for sure. It's just, it is not without downside, right? When we look at bomb mythic rares that get that AA+ range, they usually require no assistance. You tap mana and boom, something amazing happens. This needs a little bit more than that. That said, this is giving you kind of everything that you want at this stage of the game. I like it a lot. I mean, I would give it like an A-.
I'll give it B+, A-.
Yeah, it's just a lot of raw power. The two downsides are you need a thing, and then the turn that you cast it, you draw cards, but nothing else happens.
That's my main problem, is like a 6 mana card that does not affect the board is a rough ask. But if you survive that turn, you're in a huge commanding position, because you not only just drew a bunch of cards, but you also get to put like a 6/6 into play for free, and this is going to flip the next turn. Really good when you have a lot of cards in your hand, is something that taps for 6 mana. So I would give B+ to Legend of Kyoshi, but it's a good card. You're going to take a lot of times you see it.
Lots of raw power there. Okay, that's it for green. Let's move to white. We'll go through the colors, and then we'll do the gold cards, etc. after that. The first white card is called Momo Friendly Flyer. This is white for a 1/1 flying legendary lemur bat ally. It's rare, this one is. And
there's 2 1-mana Momos, so I was going to get them confused.
And they're similar. They're both white 1/1 flyers, so it's a little tough. But this one says the first non-lemur creature spell with flying you cast during each of your turns cost 1 less to cast. Sure. And then it says whenever another creature you control with flying enters, Momo gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Yeah, I think Momo is probably fine.
Essentially the first flying creature that you cast each turn. I mean, yes, it's technically non-lemur, but let's just assume that almost all of the creatures in your deck are not lemurs.
I wonder what's going on with that.
I was going to ask you. You're supposed to know. I'm like, what is this? He's anti-lemur, but he's a lemur himself. Like, what is Momo? Well, you got issues, bud. So your flyers are cheaper. It pumps him up. Is this one even better than the uncommon one? I think I like the other one's better. Yeah.
That's the one that dies into a scry 2, a food, or a +1/+1 counter. Look, you're gonna put this card in your deck pretty much every time. That's just the way this format works. You're going to be
allies. An ally that's relevant.
It's a 1-mana flying ally. Like I have not seen a deck that I would be too interested in cutting. Probably, and there's some other creatureless flyers where you're going to get to attack. So it's like a B- just based on that, but you're not getting that much out of the text. It's a little disappointing.
C+ B- range for Momo friendly fire. Also not that friendly actually, at least not to lemurs. Next is Airbender Ascension. This is 1 and a white for an enchantment at rare. When this enchantment enters, airbend up to 1 target creature. Okay, so sorcery speed, but you can airbend any creature. And then it says, whenever a creature you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. All right, that's pretty easy, right? This thing's only 2 mana.
Again, spotting you 1 if you airbend your own creature and replay it.
Mm-hmm. And then it says, at the beginning of your end step, if this enchantment has 4 or more quest counters on it, exile up to 1 target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So if you can get this thing fully charged up, you get to blink something on your end step every turn. One of your things.
This was, I think, this is my first pick in like my second draft ever, and it was pretty good. You could build around it. Like, it is a build around card. I wouldn't just jam it, but honestly, 2 mana to airbend a target creature because you can airbend their stuff too. That's not that far from already being like, you can work with that. I mean, airbend feels pretty comparable to bounce, and when you target your own stuff, it's even better generally because you can cast it for cheaper, and there's a lot of stuff that works with it. So I would give this a build around B, and what you're looking to do is just have good ETBs. So you're looking for like the reinforcements that make a 1/1, or Jiangzhong's Deserters that make a +1/+1 counter, or Kyoshi Warriors that make a 1/1 token, any of those things. And those also help to trigger this. You play this, you play one of the token makers, you're basically there already. So I would give it a build around B. Make sure you have enough ETBs to where you're actually getting some value out of this.
Feel exactly the same way. Next up is South Pole Voyager. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human scout ally at rare. And it says, whenever this creature or another ally you control enters, you gain 1 life. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card. That's a nice one.
This counts for itself for the first one. Like, I would give South Pole Voyager an A-. I think it's just a fantastic card. You want to draft allies, but again, that's very easy. It's a 2-mana play. The best way to play this, because I've had this twice now, is like, I like to just wait till turn 4, play this, play another 2-drop, get your card immediately. There's just no losing. I would just give it a straight A, actually. You don't need to give it an A-. It's just an A. It's a really strong card.
The 4-drop that makes a 1/1 triggers it on its own, right?
Oh, yeah. Tokens work too.
Yeah. So, okay. I would say A- for South Pole Voyager, but that's an awesome card. Next is United Front. This is white X for a sorcery. It's mythic rare, and it says create X 1/1 white ally creature tokens, then put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. LOL. Are you kidding? Hey, it works well with South Pole Voyager. It also works well with mana.
This card is ridiculous. This is one of the best cards in the set. I'd give it an A+. It's just it's an army in a can, and also works as an overrun.
Totally.
And it makes allies, so it triggers all your allies stuff.
I mean, the only sad part about it is that you might just win the game that turn. You don't even get to use the tokens.
It's true. It's true.
A+ for United Front. That's just absurd. Aang's Iceberg is next. This is 2 and a white for an enchantment at rare. It has flash. And it says, when this enchantment enters, exile up to one other target non-land permanent until this enchantment leaves the battlefield. So you have a flash Oblivion Ring style card here. And then it has Waterbend 3. Sacrifice this enchantment. If you do, scry 2.
That part I don't really get. Like, you're not really going to do that too often, though. I guess if
I can't do the O-ring trick with. This is like modern templating, right?
Yeah, but what you can do is hit a token and then sack this and get your scry 2. Mostly this is an instant speed O-ring. It's a B.
Yeah,
B plus.
Instant speed O-ring's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a weird clause, that waterbend. Next up is Suki, Courageous Rescuer. This is 1 white for a 2/4 legendary human warrior ally, of course. It's rare. It says other creatures you control get +1/+0. So 3 mana 2/4 pumps your squad. That's already pretty good. And then whenever another permanent you control leaves the battlefield during your turn, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. So
fantastic.
What's the circumstance for the permanents leaving the battle? Is it just like they die in combat or something like that?
Airbending is a part of it.
I airbend on my like second main phase or something.
Yeah. Or just dying
whatever.
in combat.
I mean, I don't even care about that second clause.
It's also any permanent. So once you have a 1/1 ally, if it dies in combat, you'll get another one. Like it only triggers once per turn.
If I sack a clue, I'll get a 1/1.
Yeah. So you're basically getting a 1/1 every turn. And it's really a 2/1 with Suki's in play. Yeah. So I like A for Suki.
I like A as well.
It's just a really, really rock solid card.
These are also all pointing in the same direction. They're all allies. They all care about having a big board. They all pump up stuff.
Part of why I like South Pole Voyager is just an A. Look at all these other cards. They work so well with it.
There's a lot of context for that. And yeah, you're probably right. Next is Appa, Steadfast Guardian. This is 2 white for a legendary bison ally. It's mythic rare. It's a 3/4 flash flyer. So 4 mana, 3/4 flash flying ally. When it enters, airbend any number of other target non-land permanents you control. And it says, whenever you cast a spell from exile, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. I mean, it's just, I know we're in white, which is really kind of the core of the ally thing, but good God. I mean, it's just like,
6 of the 10 rares are allies, or say allies in the case of United Front.
Yeah.
And like of those, like I would say 3 of them are like even ally kind of build arounds. So
totally.
Appa is another A. I mean, 4 mana, 3/4 flash flying is already pretty strong. You'll just ambush something some of the time.
Yeah, that's a borderline removal spell 2 for 1. Yeah.
Yeah. And it airbends a bunch of your other stuff, and it makes allies whenever you recast those things.
It's just crazy. I mean, if you're in a stall out, you can just airbend your board and then just spend on end step and then just spend the next turn recasting everything and getting the tokens. You could save one of your creatures from a removal spell. You can flash this in and block and eat one of their creatures, and a sizable one at that, and even airbend something just for value if it happens to have an ETB. There is so much going on with Appa. I like A. A for Appa. Next is Avatar's it's Appa?
Yes, Appa.
Appa, sorry. I like A for Appa. Next is Avatar's Wrath, or as Lewis would say, Avatar's Wrath. This is 2 white for a sorcery.
Look, don't blame me because I'm you and Gion's pronunciation guide this time around.
Yeah. 2 white for a sorcery at rare. It says, choose up to 1 target creature, then airbend all other creatures. Until your next turn, your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands, and you do have to exile Avatar's Wrath. I've actually had this one a couple of times so far. It's pretty good. Especially in a, guess what? In a dedicated, I would say ally deck or a creature-based aggressive strategy. This is the type of card that can basically just get your opponent's entire board out of the way while you kill them.
It's funny because I was going to say I've played against this a couple of times, but it hasn't been that good for my opponents. So you get to basically, I think the way to use this is the way you described, where you really want to make use of that turn where they can't replay anything,
Right.
and the turn where you airbend everything out of the way and hit them with maybe a 4/4, and then they don't play much, and also the turn you cast this, it's late in the game. You probably play one of your big things, right? You're on 6 mana, so I would probably give this like a C. I think this card takes some doing to work, but there are times when it's quite good.
Yeah, I have it a little higher, but you're right. It is. I don't have it in the A range for sure. I would give it like a B minus, but there's a lot of setup costs involved with this, and I have tried to play it in a more controlling shell, and it didn't do very well. I know it says Wrath. I know it costs 2 white, but don't get it confused for a real sweeper. It's not. It's a tempo play that buys you some immediate upfront value. But I mean, there's also a lot of cards in this set that have ETB abilities. And if your opponent survives that attack, that cycle, then all of a sudden they could start playing their stuff and you can find yourself falling behind again as well.
Yeah, this is not a Wrath in the way that we think of them, where like, oh, my control deck wants a Wrath. This is like a card for an aggressive deck.
Exactly.
That can use this to like push through the last bits of damage. Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's part of the problem is my opponents cast this in a spot where a Wrath would be really good.
Right.
And then they didn't kill me, and then I just cast all my stuff again.
Right.
So you have to kind of get the game over with. So
you do.
I like C for Avatar's Wrath. I could see going up to like C plus in the right deck. You know, mostly this is almost a build around where I just wouldn't play this most of the time, but in the right deck, maybe it's decent. So maybe it's more of a build around B.
Yeah, build around B. I like that. Play it in the aggressive decks. Next up is Hakoda Selfless Commander. This is 3 and a white for a 3/5 legendary human warrior, obviously ally at rare. It's got vigilance. So 4 mana, 3/5 vigilance. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast ally spells from the top of your library, and you can sacrifice Hakoda, and creatures you control get +0/+5 and gain indestructible until on the turn. Well, why are they getting both of those things?
Yeah, that I'm not 100% sure. I think if this guy was on the subway, he would be considered manspreading with the way he's sitting here. He's really taking up some room there.
Dude, actually, take some room for the rest of us.
What I bet happened is I bet he's drawn on a horse and they decided to like kind of crop it so the horse isn't there. That's what that looks like. Yeah. Or he really, really is feeling himself. Yeah. This card is great in an ally deck. So surprise there. I mean, 4 mana, 3/5 vigilance that gets you a sneak peek at your next turn. That's not that bad. It isn't. And then if you cast cards off this, obviously you're really making money. So I would give Hakoda a B. I
would too. And
I wouldn't call it a build around. You're just going to put this in a white deck.
In a full
white deck that's not running it.
But it would be a B plus A minus in a full on ally deck, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Next, and last, I should say, for the white cards is the Legend of Yang Chen. This is 3 white for a enchantment saga at Mythic. And this one also has 3 chapters. The first chapter is starting with you. Each player chooses up to 1 permanent with mana value 3 or greater from among permanents your opponents control. Exile those permanents. Can you translate that for me? My opponent played this against me, and I wasn't really sure.
Pick something. Yeah, it's horrible. This is templated for multiplayer as usual. All this means it's Elspeth Conquers Death.
Okay.
The person who plays this chooses a permanent, doesn't target, which is actually kind of relevant sometimes, that costs 3 or greater and exiles it. If your opponent plays this, do not choose a permanent because you'll choose one of your own permanents and it'll go away. You don't want to do that. So
so you just choose 0.
And then your opponent chooses. If your opponent casts this, you choose nothing because the only eligible choices are your own permanents.
I see.
And if you choose one, it'll get exiled. So,
but if you only have 1, then it doesn't matter anyway because they just get to exile that thing anyway. Right. Okay.
So 5 mana.
Not coincidentally, that's what happened to me.
And Elspeth Conquers Death, the first thing. So that's step 1.
And then
step 2.
Go ahead.
You may have target opponent draw 3 cards. If you do, draw 3 cards. So this one's interesting. I think in general, you are not going to elect to have both players draw 3 because the time when symmetrical card draw is good, there's a couple times. One is when you have a lot more mana than your opponent, or when there's a big disparity in cards in hand where they have like 5 or 6 cards and you have like 2. Then it's like, it's a lot more, a fight of 5 cards in hand versus 8 cards in hand is way closer than a fight of 5 cards versus 2 cards.
Right.
Because they're not using all 8 cards effectively anyway, so it doesn't help them that much.
Right.
Right. or if you're losing really badly and you just need to make something. The reason I say you're not going to use this is if you have this in play, you're probably actually winning. So you don't really want to introduce the variance, unless one of those other things is true. Another upside, though, to drawing is you get to use the cards first because you're drawing these cards at the start of your main phase with all your mana untapped. But I have had this card and I played against it, and I don't think anyone's chosen to draw 3 yet because the third chapter is you flip into Avatar Yang Chen, which is a 4/5 flying, and whenever you cast your second spell, you airbend another permanent. So, like, that card is just a house, right? A 4/5 flyer that's airbending every turn or most of the turns. It does work well with the draw 3 because you'll be able to double spell a lot of the time, but still. This card's obviously ridiculous. It's 5 mana to exile their best card, then kind of take a turn off, and then you get this like kind of unbeatable 4/5. So I would give an A+ to get Legend of Yang Chen. I mean, this is what we think of when we think of Mythic Rare Bombs, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is where you want it to be a removal
It's actually
spell.
really close to Elspeth Conqueror's Death, which was an incredible card in Limited, but probably better because the third chapter, instead of getting the best thing in your graveyard, it gets something that's likely better than the best thing in your graveyard. So really good card.
Yeah, so A+ for Legend of Yang Chen. That moves us to blue, where our first card is called Tiger Seal. This is blue for a 3/3 cat seal. It's rare. It has vigilance. All good news. And then it gets a little worse. At the beginning of your upkeep, tap this creature. And then it says, whenever you draw your second card each turn, untap it. So basically, you play it on 1, you get a blocker for that 1 turn, and then you have to draw 2 cards a turn to make this a functional creature going forward. So I would just give it an F.
Yeah. I mean, this card is actually making some waves in Constructed because you can reliably do the thing. But in Limited, this doesn't do anything if you don't draw your second card. And if you do, you get a 3/3, which at some point in the game is just not that impressive either. So
right.
I like F for Tiger Seal.
Next is Wan Shi Tong, Librarian. This is blue X for a 1/1 legendary bird spirit at Mythic Rare. It has flash, flying, and vigilance. And it says when it enters, put X 1/1 counters on him, then draw half of X cards rounded down. And it says whenever an opponent searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on him and draw a card. So I don't know how often that last part actually happens. That's one thing that we don't track that often in Magic. I assume in Limited it's not
the first time I ever cast this card, it triggered because they cast Aang's Journey on turn 2.
Okay.
To go search for a land. So I just ran this out. It was immediately a 2/2 and drew a card.
So did you just play it for X = 0?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it was X = 1, so it was actually a 3/3 because it was on turn 3. But yeah, I just played it very quickly.
Wow.
I mean, this card is in the running for one of the best cards in the set too. It's just obscene at every mana cost.
Well, tell me what if I spend 5 mana on it? What do I get?
If you spend 5 mana on it, you get a 4/4 flying flash vigilance, and you draw a card. The breakpoints are all the evens because 4 mana draws you a card, 6 mana draws you 2 cards. It's a Hydroid Crisis with flash. You don't gain the life, but it has vigilance instead of trample, which is better. Flying trample is not that great of a combination. Right. And it does punish them for searching, which you play against a green deck, they could have like 4 or 5 cards that search their library.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So A+ for Wan Shi Tong.
A+ for Wan Shi Tong. I think this might be the best card for Cube in the set too.
Oh, God, I want to play that card in Cube now. Next up is Waterbender Ascension. So this is 1 and a blue for an enchantment at rare. It says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a quest counter on this enchantment. Then, if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, draw a card. Are you kidding me? I have to get to 4 quest counters before I get a card back.
But wait, it also has Waterbend 4. Target creature can't be blocked this turn, so that can help. Not enough. This card is, I think, an F. I think that you will just lose win rate by putting this card in your deck because
I don't like
it. Just needed a little bit more. Like if it was 2 counters, I understand that all of them I think are 4, so that makes sense that they would choose that number. But I'm not playing a card that does nothing until I hit them 4 times. Are you kidding me?
Do they know that the whole point of the game is to hit the opponent and it's hard to do? F for Waterbender Ascension. Next is Spirit Water Revival. This is 1 blue for a sorcery. It's rare. It says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may waterbend 6. It says draw 2 cards. If this spell's additional cost was paid, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw 7 cards, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game, and then you exile Spirit Water Revival either way. So so somehow they combine 2 of your favorite cards here, Luis. We've got a divination. Yeah. Like, what is going on here?
I think so. After playing the set, you can make decks where Waterbend 6 is like significantly cheaper than 6 mana, right? You've got your fortune tellers that make clues and whatnot. But it's still a lot of mana, 9 mana, even if you like discount the waterbending by like 2 or 3. We're still talking like 6 mana plus tapping some creatures or whatever. I think this card is a build around B, where if you can really enable the waterbending, you go hard on the clue makers, you just have a lot of cheap creatures, you have Gran, stuff like that, then casting Time Twister for one-sided, it doesn't affect your opponent at all. One-sided Time Twister is pretty good. This is a little bit like the Legend of Kyoshi, where if you cast this with additional cost and then don't lose on their next turn, you are likely going to win that game because you just drew 7 cards. The problem is getting there. It does have a nice buyout of 3 mana draw 2, which, at double blue is not that great.
You wouldn't put that in your deck happily. But
no, but like
definitely
3 mana draw
terrible.
2 as the bad mode with the kicker of 6, kind of like win the game, draw 7 cards, whatever. I'm into this. I would like to try to make it work. But I would give it a build around B and a kind of a D otherwise. It's a little below the bar for a random deck, but a deck that can enable it could be quite powerful. So I like Spirit Water Revival. Interesting card.
One question I have about it is, what do you envision the best type of build to put around it? And what I mean by that is, typically like in Cube, when we think of draw 7s, we really like to put a lot of cheap spells around our draw 7s, cards that are free or allow us to dump our hand onto the table. Is that how you would view this too, where you want a bunch of low curve stuff to accompany it? Or is it, or would a normal deck be fine?
So on the one hand, the low curve stuff helps the Waterbend 6. Like you do want your fortune tellers and your spirit foxes and everything that like kind of makes clues, messenger hawks, that sort of thing. But this costs 9 mana. This is not, even though you're getting a bit of a waterbending discount, it's not like your cube deck where your goal is to go 1-drop into 2 1-drops into Time Twister, right? With a Mox thrown in for good measure. By the time you cast this, you're naturally not going to have that many cards. You don't need to have a low curve deck for that reason. This is just the
last thing that you do after you dump.
You just want to cast this as it's kind of like, 7 mana draw 7. Like you would put 7 mana draw 7 in a control deck that has a lot of removal and ways to stay alive. And I think that's actually true for this. I think blue-black with a lot of like clue making and pox bearers and messenger hawks and removal spells, you get to a point where like you stabilize the board, or at least it's close, and you've killed a bunch of their stuff, and you cast this, shuffle all your removal back in. You don't have very many lands in your graveyard probably, so you're like your deck's like spell density is going up.
This card is so sweet, Louis.
So D for Spirit Water Revival, but build around B. Let's try to make something work here. I'll do my best.
I agree with you. Build around A+ for Spirit Water Revival. Next up is the Mechanist Aerial Artisan. 2 and a blue for a 1/3 legendary human artificer ally at rare. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a clue token. And it says tap until end of turn, target artifact token you control becomes a 3/1 construct artifact creature with flying. That is awesome.
Yeah, this card is so messed up.
That is sweet.
It's a 3 mana 1/3 that like basically draws you cards every time you play spells, right? Non-creatures, but it takes time because it turns them into clues and you have to crack the clues. But guess what also it does? It gives you a lot of board presence because it just gives you free 3/1 flyers. Like, yeah, if the 3/1 dies, you are down a clue, but like this guy just makes a bunch of clues. My opponent played this and then had Octopus form to protect it when I tried to kill it. And it's just like, oh, I just lose the game. Because the next turn they just played a removal spell. Now they have this plus 2 clues in play. I used my removal spell already. Even if I had another one right there, that exchange would be really good for them. It turned out I didn't, and this just buried me because it's like drawing 2 cards a turn and putting a 3/1 into play, like hitting you with it or blocking with it or whatever. So I like A for the Mechanist. I think it's the kind of card it's like kill on sight, and even then you might still be on the wrong side of things. Imagine turn 5 you play this and cast Iroh's Demonstration. What's the worst that can happen? They kill this and you ended up a clue. That's still pretty good. So,
that's incredible.
And if they don't kill it, you basically can't lose. So I like A for the Mechanist. I don't even think you have to consider to build around because You'll have plenty of non-creatures in pretty much any deck.
Yeah, it's more like that. We have kind of a category that's like you need to consider it, right? Like you just, there are some weird builds that don't have anything, but that's different than changing every pick of your draft to try to accommodate it, which you don't need to do. Next up is Ty Lee Chi Blocker. This is 2 and a blue for a 2/1 legendary human performer ally, and it's rare with flash and prowess. Flash, I'm never quite as impressed by when a card has only 1 toughness, even if it can go up a little bit.
Right.
But still, it's not, not a downside. And then it says, when Ty Lee enters, tap up to 1 target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step for as long as you control Ty Lee. That is impressive. That's really nice. Locks down an opposing creature. It's a little attacker.
Could be a big attacker.
Could be a big attacker. And it really does, this is one of those kind of magnet cards, right? Like they kind of need to point their first removal spell at it because it is locking down one of their creatures. It's a, it feels like a 2-for-1 from their perspective. And that can mean that your other stuff gets to survive, your mechanist or whatever gets to live. And if they decide to leave it on the battlefield, then you have successfully gotten yourself a little 2-for-1 out of the deal too.
Yeah, I like A- for Ty Lee. There's just no way for this card not to be pretty good. And sometimes it's just absurd. So
yeah, I like B+, but just because it is incredibly fragile,
Yeah, but like you just never really lose out on the deal, right?
No,
like,
it's a great deal. But B+ is a good grade. I mean, I just don't quite have.
I just think that I think that I will. My pick or my interest in octopus form has gone up a lot. I think that's actually kind of a premium common. I find myself playing it a lot and losing to it a lot. And if you have Ty Lee in a deck with 2 octopus forms, like you're going to be really happy with the outcome.
That's a good call. Yeah. And, I've also noticed that the allies deck, the board state usually ends up kind of hinging on one key ally. There's like 3 or 4 cards that say ally, but there's one that's like the engine. Right. And if you can protect that, then the whole thing gets to keep going. Next up is Secret to Blood Bending. So first off, this is a mythic. It's a sorcery lesson. It costs blue, 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 blue. And it says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, you may waterbend 10. So can I interest you in a 14 mana quad blue spell? I mean, it's a little weird because this just basically has to say you win the game. If you waterbend it, it says you control target opponent during their next combat phase. That's what you get for the quad blue. So you can decide if and how they attack.
And it forces them to cast all their instants pre-combat. Like they're not going to go to combat with a shock in their hand because you would get to cast it, a firebending lesson or whatever. But it forces them to like cast those things before going to combat. And some people won't necessarily think about that and then let you do that.
Right. And then it says, if this spell's additional cost was paid, you control that player during their next turn instead. And then you do have to exile Secret of Bloodbending. So the first question is, we've seen this type of effect before, getting to control an opponent's turn. And in my experience, it has a pretty varied outcome. There are definitely board states where it's devastating and basically the game's over. And there are some board states where that's kind of not true. Given the prohibitive mana cost of quad blue here, is this something you're interested in?
No, I think it's enough. It's a cool card, but it just takes way too much mana to not be something that doesn't just win you the game. Because like, if this was straight up win the game, I'd be like, well, if you paid the additional cost, you win the game. It's like, well, 14 mana is a lot, but you could build a really heavy waterbending deck. This is kind of like a much worse version of Spirit Water Revival, where it's way harder to do the big one, and the little one's not only way harder to cast like quad blue, but also could do nothing.
Yeah.
And even a straight up Mindslaver, I've played with Mindslavers Limited a lot. Sometimes, they do it all, but sometimes you're like, you untap, you look at their hands like, well, I guess I don't want to play your land for you. Tap you out, go. Like, there's just not much to do.
That is a thing. And sometimes you get to slam their whole board into yours and kill everything, and it works out. I agree with you. I think
you're also tapping your whole board to cast this card. You're not setting up a bunch of blockers. So I like F for Secret of Bloodbending. The secret is not to play it.
Yeah, it's a cool card, but no. Next up is The Legend of Kuruk. This is 2 blue for an enchantment saga at Mythic Rare. This one has 3 chapters, though the first 2 are the same, and they are scry 2, then draw a card. And then chapter 2, you get to do that again. As much as I love scry 2, draw a card, that is not affecting the board. So you're paying 4 mana. Nothing happens, although you are digging around for a good card. Next chapter happens. Nothing happens on the board, but you're getting another good card. But now at least you've got mana. Then chapter 3 is, you guessed it, exile it, then return it to the battlefield transformed as Avatar Kuruk. This is a 4/3 legendary avatar. And it says, whenever you cast a spell, anything, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with this token can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creatures. And then it also has exhaust. So you can only do this once, but it's waterbend 20 because 10 wasn't enough on the prior card. This is waterbend 20. Take an extra turn after this one. You get to time walk if you can somehow get to waterbend 20.
Does put a bunch of tokens into play.
It does. It's interesting because this is a card that I'm attracted to, but I do really have concerns about spending 2 blue to not really do anything to the board and then have it again not do anything to the board. That really does concern me. When I think about card draw spells in my limited decks, I have a few slots for them. I kind of can't turn away, but for the most part, I'm picky about them, and I really want them to be efficient, and I really want them to ideally let me draw cards and then use one of them that turn, something along those lines. And this doesn't really pass that test. What this does do, though, is give me a creature out of my card draw spell, which most of them don't do. It just comes later in the game. I'm worried about this one, Luis. Legend of Kuruk to me feels very slow.
I think it's an A+.
Okay, go on. Speak to me.
I've just played with the card in 2 decks and played with it against 2 decks. This card is almost unbeatable because you cast this. Look, your criticisms of it not affecting the...
Wow. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I got to hear this.
The criticisms of it not affecting the board are totally valid, but the creature that comes out of it is just an absurd creature. Every time you cast a spell, you get that token. It's not even a non-creature.
But the token has shadow, right? It can't block.
Yeah, but if you get 3 of them, they're just going to die really quickly.
Yes, but you can't block with them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Scry 2 draw card is also quite strong. There are also some random spirits in the set, like that. The 2/1 Fox with Vigilance is a spirit, for example. Don't think of these as never interacting combat, but I agree. Mostly they don't. I just have been incredibly impressed with the card, and there are definitely games where you can't afford to play this. But if you cast a removal spell and play a blocker and then play this on turn 4, I think you're an overwhelming favorite to win that game. It's just way too many cards. This is close to a 4-for-1, maybe a 5-for-1. Because scry 2 draw a card and then scry 2 draw a card, you're probably up 3 cards on the next change.
You're up 1, right?
Well, no, sorry.
I know what you're saying, but right.
Scry 2 draw a card is closer to 1.5 cards than 1 card, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 3 cards. And then this flips and you have all your mana untapped and you lead by casting a spell. And then maybe they kill this in response and you have an instant and you've made 2 1/1 spirits, which that's probably about 0.75 to 1 of a card, depending on what the board is, right? If you're at a high life total and if you're not dying and you have 2 1/1 unblockables, your opponent does have to do something to those cards.
Oh, for sure.
They can't just ignore them.
Here. Yeah.
And they're good for waterbending. I would be willing to accept A on this, but I bet this is going to end up being one of the top performing cards in the set. It just has felt way too strong. It's just no real way to interact with it besides killing them, which again, you identified exactly the main drawback is that you spent 4 mana, but you do affect the board in 2 turns and you're drawing a bunch of cards in the meantime to help find, the 2 decks I had this in were a blue-red deck that had a bunch of lessons and burn spells and a blue-black deck with a bunch of removals and faded fortune tellers. So I just never felt like I was under that much pressure. And whenever I cast the card, it was absolutely obscene. I just don't think you're going to pass this card. It's also a mythic rare. I have found the card to be really, really good. So I would give an A to the Legend of Kuruk.
My inclination would be to give it an A-, but you're convincing. I mean, it feels like I can't get quite into that upper echelon just because like I think about facing down a white based ally deck as kind of the baseline currently,
that's definitely part of what's going on, or a red based like Fire Nation Cadets deck that's really putting the pressure on. And this card, it still
seems really strong. I agree with you. And you can set it up. Like if you have it in your opening hand, to be a little more liberal with your removal use. Kill the thing, cast this. They only have one creature. You're fine. And I agree with you.
There's also
you're heavy favorite.
There's really good removal in the set. Firebending Lesson, Iroh's Demonstration, the 1 mana blue enchantment that makes their thing not untap, the water.
Yeah, that's turned out to be pretty good. Yeah.
Like casting those in the turns leading up to this, or on turn 5, let's say turn 4, you play just a random creature. And then turn 5, you're like, play this plus one of those 1 mana removal spells. Like you were just in the money there. So I have thought this card, like every time I cast the card, I feel like I'm going to win. And every time my opponent casts, I feel like I'm going to lose. So that to me is a pretty strong signal.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to land on A- for Legend of Kuruk. You said A is where you're going to land.
I think A, yeah.
Okay. Next up is it UA or U?
I think it's UA, though. I don't. She don't know. She turns into the moon pretty quickly, so you don't see her on the screen a lot.
UA the Moon Spirit is 3 and a blue for a legendary spirit ally at rare. It's a 3/3 with flying and vigilance, so 4 mana 3/3 flying vigilance with Waterbend 5 and tap it. You may cast a non-creature spell from your hand without paying its mana cost.
The best thing I've found to cast is Meteor Sword.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Get a little discount because it's not just a discount of 2. It's also when the things you tap to Waterbend also kind of give you an extra bonus.
Can you also just do that whenever you want?
Yeah, this is not a This will happen during the ability. I think this is mostly a 4 mana 3/3 flying vigilance, but the ability is not nothing. Even just letting you like save your mana and cast something end of turn can be pretty strong. I would probably give it like a B-. Like it's not.
That's what I was thinking.
Nothing special.
B- for UA the Moon Spirit. Last one is the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. I think
that was a special I saw at a Japanese place recently.
I was going to say, that's an eel, right?
Unagi just means eel, but I would say for most like Americans, the vast majority of their exposure to the word unagi is as a menu item at a Japanese place.
Definitely.
So it's kind of funny seeing that. I'm like, unagi, isn't that those little eel sushi?
Tasty, yeah. This one is 3 blue for a 5/5 legendary serpent. It should be a fish technically. At rare, it's got flash. So 5 mana, 5/5 flash. That is very much a removal spell / creature here. Pretty easy to 2-for-1 with something that big. It also has ward 4, but it's waterbend 4. So your opponent can pay for it in any number of ways, but still that's a lot. And then whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you draw 2 cards. Wow. So Flash really pulling overtime on the Unagi of Kyoshi Island. This thing, if your opponent's getting ready to, they crack a clue, you flash this in, you get 2 cards. But honestly, all they have to do is
impossible to kill, at least on the turn where they've already done something. Like,
very
they can
safe.
Probably kill it the next turn if they. Well, still 5 toughness and waterbend ward 4 is a lot.
That's a lot. And then of course you just have the ability to just flash it in and block a 3/3 or whatever, and get your 2-for-1 that way. And then it just has this annoying second card each turn for your opponent clause that they have to now work around.
Yeah,
That's
which
awesome
with
card.
clues, once you know about this, with clues, you can just wait to crack 1 on their turn. Mm-hmm. But what if you have a waterbending lesson to draw 3? It's like, you just, I guess, don't cast it. That's pretty bad. I like A for the Unagi.
I do too.
It's really hard for it not to get you a card the turn you cast it, one way or another. Sometimes 2 cards,
Right.
So, and Ward Waterbend 4 is no joke either. This card's pretty strong.
It is. And I mean, we didn't even talk about the baseline, which is just end step play this, turn it sideways. Like that completely changes combat for your opponent. They did not know that was coming. Okay, that'll move us to black. Our first card is called Day of Black Sun. This is black X for a sorcery at rare. It says each creature with mana value X or less loses all abilities until end of turn. Destroy those creatures. So we have a sweeper that costs 5 to destroy all 3 drops or less, 6 to destroy all 4 drops or less, etc.
So there's a couple interesting things going on. One, I think the most effective way of using this asymmetrically is to have the highest cost creatures on the board, where like you cast this X equals 3 and you have a 4-drop in play. That's already like kind of nice, if you can do that. It turns off death triggers. Not that there's like tons of those, but there are some. It strips those abilities, and yeah, it can be kind of cheap, like 2 mana to destroy all tokens if you end up needing to do that. I think you combine all those and you have a pretty solid card. Like this isn't in the A range for me. I would probably give it like a B, but maybe B plus. I think like your blue-black control deck will use this well. Your white-black sack deck might, though those decks have a decent amount of creatures. Black-red firebending deck, it's okay there, but if the more aggressive you are, the worse this gets. So I would say blue-black or maybe black-green if you have like a control encounters deck. Really good against earthbending because I believe that it strips the return clause off of this. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know either.
Because I haven't seen that interaction come up, but let me look at an earthbending card and I'll see if I can figure it out. But overall, even just as like a decent modal wrath, which the biggest drawback being that it might be too expensive. Like you might end up needing to spend 7 mana if they have a 5 toughness creature in play. So like that is definitely an issue. But I actually can't tell from just reading the cards. I'm usually pretty good at figuring that out. Yeah, but I don't know if the earthbending gives the creature the ability or not. Regardless, this card is pretty strong, and I think if you want a Wrath, you'll play this. There's not a whole lot else going on besides maybe trying to have the most expensive creature on the board.
Yeah, I found that black hasn't been the best color for me, but this is the type of card that can...
No, actually, I think unless you pair it with blue, black is typically pretty weak, but luckily this is a pretty good blue-black card. So
yeah, I like this one because it shores up the weaknesses of it, which are like flying decks and go wide decks, and this does a pretty good job against both of those. Next is My Scornful Striker. This is 1 and a black for a 2/2 legendary human noble ally at rare. It's got first strike, so 2 mana 2/2 first strike, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they lose 2 life. That is a symmetrical effect. Both players will suffer.
It's somewhat symmetrical. The main reason I wouldn't call it fully symmetrical is that you have a 2/2 first striker, so you're hopefully able to kind of deal a bunch of damage to them and make it so the life loss is more punishing. Also, you could put this in a deck that just has a lot of creatures in it, not that many non-creatures. I think the card's strong. I mean, it's not a bomb because you play it against a blue-red lessons deck or a Temur lessons deck. They're probably starting by casting Firebending Lesson, losing 2 life, and then getting this off the board.
Moving on with their life, yeah.
But it is really good if it stays on the board. Like if they don't have a way to kill it, and their options like, well, I can cast a Waterbending Lesson and lose 2 life. That's not really where I want to be. So.
Yeah, I mean, it looks solid. I think it's a B. I think so too. It's a little lost, maybe just as a 2/2, aggressive 2/2
play this
ally.
In a blue-black control deck most of the time, but I think I play this in most other decks just because it's just fairly likely it's going to cause them more issues than you.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, if this card was red, for example, I would like it a lot more. It would go better in those decks. Next is Obsessive Pursuit. This is 1 and a black for an enchantment. It's rare. It says when this enchantment enters. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and create a clue token. And it says, whenever you attack, put X +1/+1 counters on target attacking creature, where X is the number of permanents you sacrifice this turn. If X is 3 or greater, that creature gains lifelink until end of turn. This is kind of what I was looking for, right? You're definitely starting to feel the pain of this thing that it ETBs. You lose life. It comes to your upkeep. You lose a life, and you're going to get kind of buried under these clues, right? Like there's only so much mana you can spend to convert these from clues into cards that you can use to affect the board. But this out here, of I drew a card for the turn. Now I'm going to start sacrificing these things. If I can ever get lifelink on something and you actually get a hit in, it feels like this would give you enough wiggle room to really realize the gains from Obsessive Pursuit. If not, I'm kind of scared you might not be able to.
I mean, this is another card that kind of provides its own answer, which is pretty nice. I think.
Do you think it needs more help though? Like, do you think you want to be in the sacrifice deck to really make this thing go?
Well, it certainly improves it. I think this card is pretty good already. Like, there are definitely games where you can't afford to pay 4 life to make 4 clues, but the fact that it can give lifelink and can get you back out of it sounds pretty good to me. And I have seen the card be fairly strong. I think that there are some interesting counter or plays to it. Like sometimes you don't want to crack a clue even if you have the mana because you want to save it till you get 3 clues so you can crack all 3 in the same turn.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a lot better in black white. Like this is probably close to an A in black white and close to like a B in like your average black deck that has a decent amount of creatures, and then like D to unplayable and like blue black control.
Okay.
So, you kind of have to just figure out where you land in order to get the most value from it.
Yeah, basically you want to be taking advantage of all the things on this card. And if you're taking advantage of those, then you're probably going to win. But if it's only, it makes me a clue every turn and I lose a life, you're probably not.
You have to do a little more than that. It's good in the blue black draw 2 deck that has a lot of messenger hawks, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Other things that make clues are really nice because then you don't have to wait as long to kind of get the triple clue crack. And Deadly Precision is really nice with this card because it just counts on a permanent you sacrifice. So that way you can do it for like a little bit cheaper, and that can work out well. So
and then extra sack outlets does get you to that 3 more regularly.
Yeah, I would give Obsessive Pursuit a B, but just it can go up or down from there based on what you got going on.
Boiling Rock Rioter is next. It's 2 and a black for a 3/3 human rogue ally. At rare, it has Firebending 1, which does, by the way, still add red mana, remember, not any other color. It says tap an untapped ally you control, exile target card from a graveyard. And whenever this creature attacks, you may cast an ally spell from among the cards you own exiled with this creature. You do have to, it is a pay, you have to tap the ally to get the graveyard. It's not like when this ally becomes tapped. It is a 3 mana 3/3 with Firebending 1, so there's some push to be attacking with this thing, but you can turn it or other allies into a bit of a, card advantage engine if there's allies in the yard. Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you ultimately do have to attack with this to get the allies out of the yard. So like you have, there's a little bit of setup you need to do, but it also gives you kind of free graveyard hate. You play against lessons, you just get to eat their whole graveyard really quickly because it's not summoning sick when you do tap and untapped allies. So like you play this with 2 allies in play, like you don't need to do much else. Like that's going to eat everything you need. And then it spots you a mana towards playing the ally. So I like B for Boiling Rock Rider. The main weakness, I believe, with this card is that black is not a good ally color. So it's like kind of it's just a slightly awkward card. If this was a white card, it would be incredible. It would probably be like an A-.
Yeah.
But as a black card, it's probably like a B because you're either forced into like a somewhat suboptimal color or combination, or you're splashing this in a white deck with like white green splashing this is not unreasonable. There's some good fixing. It's a powerful card. And it works nicely with combat tricks, but I think it does take a little bit of
being in black, it means that it's how good it is going to depend a lot on if you're playing against an ally deck, where if it was in white, you would always have targets for it from your own yard.
No, it can only cast allies you own. So it's so you have to have allies to make it work. But most of the time you can find a couple allies.
Okay, I did not know that.
Like imagine a blue-black deck, you're going to find some allies in blue, even if there's not tons of allies in black. So
the splash really is where you want to be. I get it.
Yeah,
also, you're casting these during combat somehow too. It's a little weird.
Yeah, it just lets you do that,
Okay.
Black-white, I think, is a really good spot for this.
Okay.
So
Black-white.
You could do that as well. But I like B for Boiling Rock Rider. All and then that leads us to Foggy Swamp Visions. So this is 1 black for a sorcery at rare. As an additional cost to cast the spell, Waterbend X. Exile X target creatures from graveyards. For each creature card exiled this way, create a token that's a copy of it. Beginning of your next end step, sacrifice the tokens. So
what does that do?
It gives you a bunch of ETBs. That's about it. This looks like an F to me. They don't have haste, so they're just going to go away. Haste.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if it's something for the sacrifice deck or something, but that is way too much setup cost for not enough payoff. I would just give an F to Foggy Swamp Visions. Not even try that. Next is Raven Eagle. This is 2 and a black for a 2/3 bird assassin at rare. It's got flying, and it says whenever this creature enters or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard. If a creature card is exiled this way, create a clue token. Wow, that's nice. And whenever you draw your second card each turn, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. You know, this is not an over-the-top card, but dang, there's a lot to like there.
This card is fantastic.
Awesome.
This is just like another one of those cards where it just like, it doesn't really go wrong. It's 3 mana for a 2/3 flying that's going to give you a clue right away. When you crack a clue or draw a card otherwise, you drain them for 1. And when it attacks, it gives you more clues.
Yeah.
I would give this an A- just because of how smooth it is. It always works, and it's cheap, and it gives you an advantage. Like, you don't need to be looking for, like, yes, you would like a card that when you top deck, it always wins the game. That's your classic 6 mana, 6/6 flying bomb. But this is the other kind of bomb where you cast it on turn 3, it ups your win percentage by a lot.
Totally.
But it is very cheap. You know, you
cheap,
can almost
easy
never
to
not cast
cast,
this card.
asks very little of you. Yeah, I like that. Raven Eagle, A-. That's a great card. Next up is Phoenix Fleet Airship. This is 2 black for a 4/4 vehicle. Of course, it's an artifact. It's a mythic rare with flying. And it says, at the beginning of your end step, if you sacrificed a permanent this turn, create a token that's a copy of this vehicle. And then it says, as long as you control 8 or more permanents named Phoenix Fleet Airship, this vehicle is an artifact creature. So I guess that's true for all of them. And then the question is, what's the crew cost? And it is the only crew cost acceptable. Maybe 2 is also acceptable, but this is crew cost 1. So it makes copies. Getting to 10 or 8 of them or whatever seems kind of whatever. But you don't need very many of these before the game ends pretty quickly, right?
No, I lost to this card this morning where they played this and then sacked a creature to deadly precision and made a second one. And it's like,
isn't that just like kind of GG? Yeah.
Such a pain. Like, what are you going to do?
The 8 of them is just LOL, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, that part is basically irrelevant, but I don't mind first picking this and going to a sack deck. The other thing is you can play this in like a deck that just makes clues.
Yeah,
like
just
that works totally
like if
fine.
I make 1 extra of these, I just feel like I'm doing it. Even one of them is pretty good. 4 mana, 4/4 flying crew 1.
Yeah, what grade would we give 4 mana, 4/4 flying crew 1 vehicle? Wouldn't that be like
B-?
Probably like a B-, something like that. Like, you're okay with that card.
Yeah, it's a decent
I think this card's an A-. Like,
I do too.
The ideal setup for this, if you can swing it, is to go turn 5 Phoenix Fleet Airship and immediately sack something. That does take a 1 mana sack card, or turn 6 and sack a clue. And if you can do that, then you're just, as long as it goes to the end of the turn, which it's not that hard to do. Your opponent's probably not killing an artifact that isn't a creature, but it's end of turn step, right? Like, that's pretty difficult. You'll get 2 of these, and then it's just, you don't really care what happens after that. Because the other thing is, when you have 2 of these, the next turn you get 4 if you trigger them. Like, they all trigger. So
actually, funny enough, getting to 8 of them actually is in range. Although,
it's in range. I just don't think it affects the outcome of the game a massive amount.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like A- for Phoenix Fleet Airship with the build around caveat that yes, clues count, but if you have like an actual sacrifice deck, you're really going to roll with this thing. Next up is the Fire Nation Drill. This is 2 black for a 6/3 trample. It is a legendary artifact vehicle, and it's rare. The crew cost is 2, so I'll just get that out of the way. But here's the good part. When the Fire Nation Drill enters, you may tap it, which is a little weird, but it's worth it. When you do, destroy target creature with power 4 or less. So it kills a biggish to small creature. And then it also has an activated ability that doesn't come up really, but when it does, maybe it's important. You can pay 1 mana to have permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. But the key thing here is that you play it for 4 and it will kill something on the other side that turn. So sorcery speed removal for a creature with power 4 or less. And it is a freaking 6/3 trampler on crew too. Like, this thing slams. It really hits hard. I've played against this multiple times and had it once myself, and it's really good. Like, it's a straight up 2 for 1, and then it hits really hard. I like the Fire Nation Drill a lot.
Yeah, I'll give it an A. There's just nothing you really need to do besides cast this card.
2 for 1 with a great beatdown. Nothing not to love there. Next up is Ko the Face Stealer. Yikes. 4 black for a 6/6 legendary creature. It's a shapeshifter spirit at Mythic Rare. And it says when it enters, exile up to 1 other target creature. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may exile it. You can pay 1 life to have, it says choose a creature card exiled with Ko. And then it says Ko has all activated and triggered abilities of the last chosen card. So there's a lot of kind of interesting stuff going along here, but really it's a 6 mana 6/6 that exiles another creature when it ETBs. So just a classic, massive Necrotal style 2-for-1 that has some other upside to it as well, but that's the key of what you're getting, and that's a lot. I mean, that is really, that's going to put it already in one of the better cards.
The creature does not come back. There's none of that. It's just gone.
It's just exile another creature, and by the way, you have a 6/6 now.
I've lost this card multiple times, and they've never even paid a life to do anything with it, which I can imagine actually does do some good stuff sometimes.
It probably does sometimes.
Mostly it's just 6 mana 6/6 exiles their best creature. Like, that's just a ridiculous card.
That is a ridiculous card. I would give it an A+. It's right in that mid-range, but it's just almost impossible to imagine casting this and just being like, I just lose anyway. Like, this is going to stabilize everything.
I like A+ for Ko the Face Stealer, which leads us into another A+, by the way. Rise of Sozin is 4 black. It's a Mythic saga.
For the Rise of Sozin.
The Rise of Sozin.
Thank you, Luis.
Its first chapter is destroy all creatures. So you knowing that we're going to get like a really nice creature at the end of it, the first chapter being destroy all creature is just like, okay, well, that's exactly what I want on this kind of card.
Yeah.
The second chapter is the weak one. Choose a card name, search their graveyard, hand, and library for up to 4 cards with that name and exile them. The one thing that's kind of funny about that is it doesn't give a card back. Like some of these effects we see now, give them a card back. This doesn't. So if you somehow know a card in their hand and you can exile it, it's just gone. But also, it's better in best of 3, or if you've done some scouting in like a paper event and you know what their best cards are, you can name one of them and they can't play that card again this game, like it just goes away.
Is any card?
Yeah, you could
name lands.
You could choose mountain, and hope they have mountain in their hand.
That's interesting because at that point of the game, let's say they have 3 cards, you're probably more likely to hit a land than anything else, right? But like that's also the thing you don't really care about. Interesting. Anyway, then what happens?
And then the third chapter is you exile it and it comes back as Firelord Sozin, which is a 5/5 menace firebending 3. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can pay X and you can put any number of target creature cards with total mana value X or less from that player's graveyard onto your battlefield under your control. So it's like...
that's absurd. Hey, if you told me, Luis, 6 mana, Mythic Rare Enchantment Saga, I'm like, go nuts, right? Like this is what you want to see. This is just absurd.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that Firelord Sozin is, or the Rise of Sozin is an A+. Like you should just take this card when you see it.
That'll lead us to red, our last of the single colored blocks here. Our first one is Redirect Lightning. This is red for an instant lesson at rare. It says, as an additional cost to cast this spell, pay 5 life or 2 mana. But you do have to pay one or the other. And it says, change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. This is like a fork variant.
No, misdirection.
Oh, sorry, misdirection. Fork's double something, right?
Yeah, fork is doubling. So I did have this card once, and I had a couple games where it just sat in my hand and did nothing. That's the downside. And I had twice when it's like I redirected a removal spell once and a pump spell once, and it was incredibly good.
That's how these normally go, right? They're very high variance.
This is more of a sideboard card, which is a shame in best of one world here. I think I would always play this card in sealed, by the way. See, everyone always plays a lot of removal in sealed. The drawback to this card in draft is you play against blue-white allies or something like that, like or green-white or red-green 4-power things that maybe just don't have that much in the way of interaction, and they just play a bunch of creatures. And that actually kind of double punishes you because then the 5 life becomes more of an issue as well. Though you play against a blue-black deck and you redirect their removal spell, and let's say you play on turn 5, you play a 4-drop like Prince Zuko or something that they really want to kill, and they go, okay, untap, kill your thing, and you're like, pay 5 life, redirect it to your creature. You probably win that.
That's probably game, yeah.
So I like sideboard A. This is like an incredible sideboard card.
Yeah.
As of now, if I have a lot of looting in a lesson deck, I'll run this in the main deck, but I would not run this in like red, white aggro, for example.
So you're running to the main. If your opponent's on red, black or whatever, you're like, all right, we'll keep it. And if they're on blue, white or something, you're like, okay, I'm pretty willing to just loot this away and add to my lesson count in the yard or whatever.
Yeah, basically. So if you have ways to do that, then I think it gets a lot better. But I would give it probably like a C to start out with. This is the rare C/sideboard card. It checks all the boxes.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like if you talk about flipping a coin, right? It's like, well, you're 50-50 to win it. In other words, you're going to split your money every time you do it, but you never actually split your money. You either win it all or lose it all. And that's how this is. It's like on average, but in practice, it's either going to be a devastating blowout or a complete blank. Next is Firebender Ascension. I wonder if this one's good. This is 1 and a red for an enchantment at rare. It says when this enchantment enters, create a 2/2 red soldier creature token with Firebending 1. So right away, 2/2, you get a 2/2 with Firebending 1. So that's already pretty solid. And then it says whenever a creature you control attacking causes a triggered ability of that creature to trigger, which is Firebending at least, put a quest counter on this enchantment. And then if this has 4 or more quest counters on it, you may copy that ability and choose new targets for the copy if that's applicable. So it at least doubles your firebending after you get to that point. And then if there's other things that it does, what is it? There's an ally that when you attack it, lets you tap down an opposing creature that would trigger this. And then you'd eventually get double triggers on that, etc. I mean, this one to me has like kind of the weakest end game, but the best, 2 mana 2/2 with Firebending 1 is like a fine card to put in your deck anyway.
This is another C where I'm just going to put this card in my Firebending deck and it's going to be fine, but I'm not considering this like a build around bomb.
These are very variant. I mean, the blue one we hated, the green one we love. This one's right in the middle somehow. Next up is Firebending Student. This is 1 and a red for a 1/2 human monk at rare with prowess. And it says it has Firebending X where X is its power. How do you feel about
really cool constructed card?
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about a 2 mana 1/2 prowess? Like that's understated, right? For us.
It's a little understated, but Firebending X is pretty exciting. Like if you cast this, I mean, the dream is you like cast this on 2, they play a 2-drop. You're like Firebending Lesson, kill your 2-drop. And then I'll cast, let's say another 2 mana spell or something, right? That maybe doesn't do that much to the board, but attack and then Firebending 3 and spend that 3 mana on like some kind of instant.
Yeah, that is a lot of mana to spend on turn 3, no doubt.
I have been kind of obsessed with the Fire Nation Cadets deck, and this fits really nicely into that deck. So I think that this card is, I would give it probably like a B-, but in the right deck, in the deck that's trying to use the cheap red lessons and like the double strike equipment and pump spells like the +3/+1, like that's a nice card on this, right? You're like, if you like turn 2 Firebending Student, turn 3, give it +3/+1 attack and cast Fire Nation attacks like that. I mean, that's a 6-star day. That is, and those are all good cards. So I like build around B for Firebending Student, but it's probably like around a C in most decks.
Yeah, that's how I have it. Build around B. Next is the Last Agni Kai.
I think it's the Last Agni Kai.
Last Agni Kai. 1 and a red for an instant at rare. Target creature you control fights target creature an opponent controls. If the creature the opponent controls is dealt excess damage this way, add that much red mana. And then it says until end of turn, you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. So you get
awesome
a little bonus. It looks like, what's it called?
It's Zuko and Azula fighting. Yeah. It's really cool art. I have seen this card in draft when I'm red a bunch and I never select it. And I think the reason is because it's bad. And the reason I think it's bad is that red is just not in the market. This is a fight, not a bite.
Oh, it's a fight. Right.
So like red is just not that good at having a fight win, first of all, and second, have unspent red mana left over. Like you excess damage, you're just not getting that very often.
So, and take a look at the red cards that we play, especially they're 3/1s, they're 1/1s, they're sometimes 2/2s. Yeah.
It is kind of nice that if you cast this and then you firebend, you can use the firebending mana in second main phase as well. But I think that overall this looks like probably like a D to me, just because I just don't think the stats are there.
Agreed. Next up is Zhao the Moonslayer. This is 1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary human soldier. It is rare. And it has menace, and it says non-basic lands enter tapped, though I think in this set they do anyway. And it says you can pay 7 mana to put a Conqueror token on Zhao. And as long as Zhao has a Conqueror counter on him, non-basic lands are mountains. This is typically a constructed type of thing. But even in this case, the 7 mana is a huge toll to pay for basically having no effect in limited. So we just kind of erase all that stuff and say we've got a 2/2 menace for 2.
Yeah, and that's a C. That's a card you'll put in your deck and you won't feel bad about.
Next up is Fated Firepower. This is an interesting one. So this is red, X for an enchantment with flash. It's mythic rare. It says this enchantment enters with X fire counters on it. So 5 mana, you get 2 fire counters, for example. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus an amount of damage equal to the number of fire counters on this enchantment instead. And as you can see, they critically did give this flash so that you could potentially just kill your opponent out of nowhere with a big lethal attack, something like that, as just being like the last card out of your hand. What do you make of Fated Firepower?
I actually think this card is solid. It looks pretty difficult to use, but I think that the effect is actually good enough because it pumps all your creatures. Part of the problem I have with a lot of these kinds of effects is that they end up buffing your spells, but don't really do much for your creatures, and that's just not enough.
Any source, right? So
all your creatures get +X+O. All your spells deal extra damage. Like that's pretty good. So I like Fated Firepower. I kind of view it as a build around because it costs triple red, but it's such a good, because of flash, it's so good with firebending. Like if you can get a solid firebender out and you cast this card, like
I don't know why I didn't think of that, but I did not think about that. And it's triple red, which is all firebending makes is red. So, God, this could be like if you could get 2 creatures through, you just attack with everything. They go to blocks.
If you cast this for like 6 mana or 7 mana or 8 mana, which with firebending, by the time you're at that point in the game, it's not that hard.
You have all your mana plus the firebending mana. That's not that hard, actually. Interesting. Yeah, so this might just be like the best firebending mana sink. There are, of course, significant downsides if you're not able to, turn your creatures sideways, or if you don't have much of a board. Fated Firepower goes down in value a lot. Yeah, it can make your burn spells a little better, but like that's not, kind of where you want to be. But boy, I could see this stealing a lot of games where you get in for 8 extra damage that your opponent didn't even know they were taking.
Yeah. And Iroh's Demonstration.
Which one's that?
That's the ping for 4 or 1 to each of your opponent's creatures.
Oh, yeah.
You cast the ping 1 mode with this out, you're going to kill all their creatures.
Wrath their board.
So I actually like B for Fated Firepower. Like it's cost triple red, so it's got a bit of a builder on aspect to it, but like, boy, that does a lot of damage.
Man, you said it though. Yeah, with firebending, that's amazing. Next up is The Legend of Roku. This is 2 red for an enchantment saga. Mythic rare. This is that one. 3 chapters. First one is exile the top 3 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards, any of them. On chapter 2, it says add 1 mana of any color, which does help you actually get those 3 exiled cards, out of exile and onto the battlefield, which is cool, though it is a little anemic at just here's a mana. Chapter 3, though, is exile and return it as Avatar Roku, which is a 4/4 legendary avatar with firebending 4, and it has the activated ability 8 mana, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying and also has firebending 4. Good God. It's just crazy to me that you're getting all of this for 4 mana. I mean, at least the other ones cost 5 or 6. I mean, this is nuts for 4 mana.
Yeah. We knew this coming in. The saga creatures are all just obscenely busted. I would give The Legend of Roku an A+.
I agree. This seems to be
it as a draw 3 that puts into play at the end of it a 4/4. They have to kill it in order to have any chance for this game. Late in the game, you can flip into Avatar Roku and immediately just pay 8 and make a dragon, even if they have a way to kill it.
Right.
Like that's obviously a little later, but that's
and if totally it gets doable. To attack, then it automatically makes a dragon. because you've got 4 mana from it. Plus, you have 4 mana because you cast a legend. So, yeah, I agree. To me, this card stands out, at least thus far, as the best mix of power to price. Like this to me peaks out. This is the highest efficiency. So I like A+ for Legend of Roku. Next is Wartime Protesters. This is 3 and a red for a 4/4 human rebel ally. At rare, it has haste. And it says whenever another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature and it gains haste until end of turn. So I guess the only question is that this is an ally. I mean, it's pretty good anyway. It's a 4 mana 4/4 haste. But if you really want to max out on it, you want it in the allies deck. Is it a splash in there? Are there enough in red that you're still just fine with it?
Yeah, I think there is enough in red that you would be fine playing this card most of the time. And it's obviously, I mean, 4 mana 4/4 haste is a pretty high floor. Like that's not
already
bad.
a good card.
It also works really well with like ally tokens. It pumps those too. So I like probably B+ for Wartime Protesters. The biggest drawback is that red isn't the biggest ally color. There are allies in red though, so it works fine. It's probably at its best in red white is my guess.
Okay, B+ for Wartime Protesters. Next is Ran and Shaw. This is 3 and double red, so 5 mana for a 4/4 legendary dragon. It's rare. It has flying and firebending too, so pretty good. And it says when Ran and Shaw enter, this is big. If you cast them, so you can't reanimate this way, but if you cast them and there are 3 or more dragon and or lesson cards in your graveyard, create a token that's a copy of Ran and Shaw, except for it's not legendary. And then it also has an activated ability of 3 and a red dragons you control get +2/+0 until end of turn, which, you probably don't look at that and think, oh, that's amazing or anything like that. But, with both of them, it's free. You get double firebending too. You pay it. And all of a sudden you're adding a huge amount of power in the air where the game could just end in one swing. I guess the question I have for you is, what's the contrast between I can't really get my lesson dragon count up high enough to go double dragon versus I can do that pretty easily?
Yeah, I think that if this always made a second dragon, it would be pretty close to an A+.
Right. Right.
I think that it's not that hard to make lessons work. So I think
firebending lesson is just so ubiquitous in the format.
Yeah. And there's just a lot. They really just priced all the lessons to move. So I think that.
So would you go A for Ran and Shaw?
I would just go A, but it's closer to an A+ in most of the decks that you'll play it.
Yeah, I agree. You can definitely play it without, but try to lean into the lessons a little bit. It will pay you off. Last red card is Sozin's Comet. This is 3 red for a sorcery. It is mythic rare, and it says each creature you control gains firebending 5 until end of turn. And it says, and it has foretell for 2 and a red. And just to read that, it's during your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down. You can cast it on a later turn for its foretell cost. So you can just kind of hide this thing away. And then later on, you can pay 2 and a red to give each creature you control firebending 5. The only issue here, right, is that it doesn't give you anything to spend it on.
Not naturally, no. But it provides you a massive amount of mana. This looks like a build around F where I could definitely see this doing cool things, but I really don't think you're supposed to put this card in your deck.
Are there any other foretell cards in the set?
I don't think so.
So if they do, it's like, okay, I know you have that, and then, just make sure they don't have faded firepower and you're probably fine. But if they do, like their 1/1's going to kill you. Build around F for Sozin's Comet. A rare grade, but one deserved here. That'll move us to our gold cards, which there's a lot of action here. So our first one up is Aang Swift Savior. This is 1 blue-white for a 2/3 legendary human avatar ally at rare with flash and flying. So 3 mana, 2/3 flash flyer. And when Aang enters, airbend up to 1 other target creature or spell. So if something's on the stack, you can exile it and make them pay 2 later. And then it also, these cards are just absurd. It also has Waterbend 8 to transform it. And if you do it, becomes Aang and La Ocean's Fury, which is a 5/5 legendary Avatar Spirit ally with reach and trample. And it says, whenever Aang and La attack, put a +1/+1 counter on each tap creature you control. That is just an absolutely absurd bomb.
Yeah, this set, I believe we're gonna conclude as a Prince set once we get to the Sunset Show.
It is feeling like that to me.
Yeah. This is an A+. It's a 3-mana 2/3 flying flash that has a really good ETB. And that would already be like an A-. Like, that's just a really strong card.
That's
And then
crazy.
you also just get to waterbend it into this just massive thing that ends the game.
A+ for Aang Swift Savior. Yeah, that's a joke of a card, honestly. Next is Katara, Water Tribe's Hope. This is 2 white, blue for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally at rare with vigilance. It is a 5-mana gold 3/3, so this is a little tough. It has vigilance, and it says when it enters, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. So you actually get spotted a 1/1 as well. And it has Waterbend X. Creatures you control have base power and toughness XX until end of turn. X can't be 0. Activate only during your turn. What was that changeling that did this?
Yeah, that was the mirror folk changeling or the mirror entity or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of what this is like. But I mean, 5-mana 3/3 plus making a 1/1 is already like, granted, set aside the fact that it's slightly difficult to cast because it is. But without that, it's still like, that's not a bad place to start. 3/3 vigilance plus on 1 ally. And then you just untap and then you just attack with everything. And you have 6 mana untapped or 7 mana. You may even have a clue to help pay, or you leave back a token or something. And she has vigilance, so she's even getting +1 to the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
All your creatures are now 7/7s or 8/8s, or even 6/6s, even if you don't have a land, right?
And you can just do that. Like, your opponent has to decide blocks before.
Yes, it's only during your turn, but it is instant speed.
Right. So if they don't block, then you go, okay, just go all in, you die.
And if they do block, they lose all their creatures. So
they probably lose all their creatures, or you can do it to just the right amount and even have mana left over.
Late enough in the game, you can also just use this as an overrun where you cast this. She's already contributing 2 to the cause, as it were.
Yeah.
And let's say you have 2 more lands. You're like, okay, all my things are 4/4s, or I leave a creature back, or every vigilance creature is adding +1 to this. So you want to be a creature heavy deck, but that's not a big ask, and that's what Blue White is doing a lot of anyway. So I like A- for Katara.
I do too. It's also 2 allies ETBing, which I've just found that to be worth it on its own based on the board states I've seen out of that deck. Next is Azula, Cunning Usurper. This is 2 blue, black for a 4/4 legendary human noble rogue at rare with firebending 2, and when Azula enters, target opponent exiles a non-token creature they control. Then they exile a non-land card from their graveyard. During your turn, you may cast cards exiled with Azula, and you may cast them as though they had flash. Mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. It's a little weird to say flash but only during your turn, but that is how it works. And then you can spend whatever you want. I mean, this is incredible.
It's so that obviously, so you can attack with Azula, make 2 mana, and then cast the spells that she stole.
Still cast it.
I mean, honestly, we could probably just say like the rares are just all A's, and we'll adjust from
The
there.
baseline does seem to be A, and this is another one. I mean, this is an absurd card.
Yeah, you cast this. First of all, if they kill her, you still ate one of their creatures. You know, they have to exile a creature and got something out of the graveyard, though that doesn't really matter too much. If they don't kill her, you just get to cast both those cards on your next turn. This card's absolutely ridiculous. I would give it an A+. And you can just get back, use the variety of cards that get creatures back from the graveyard. The second Azula is just like such a beating. The third Azula, it's just it goes from there.
And airbending and all that stuff. So yeah, it's just dumb. A to A+ for Azula, Cunning Usurper. Next is Zuko, Conflicted. It's black-red for a 2/3 legendary human rogue at rare. At the beginning of your first main phase, choose one that hasn't been chosen, and you lose 2 life. So you can draw a card and lose 2 life. Then you can put a +1/+1 counter on Zuko and lose 2 life. You can add a red mana and lose 2 life, or you can exile Zuko, then return him to the battlefield under an opponent's control and lose 2 life. Wow.
Yeah, the other thing is, like, you can, if they're at a low enough life total, because it's a mandatory lose 2 life every turn.
Send them over?
You could just be sending this back and forth. That actually could happen.
So it's like each player loses 2 life at the beginning of their first main phase. That's funny. You do have time to kill it if you need to, right? Like upkeep, you could instant speed kill it. Anyway, that's an interesting card. Do you have a sense for how good it is?
No, I really don't. I
don't either.
This reminds me of a little bit of like Kane or whatever, the Final Fantasy 2/4 flyer that, like, when you hit them, they would gain it. Most cards that do that are just not good.
They're just not good.
So I'm not saying this is not good necessarily, but I am a little skeptical.
Per is so much.
Yeah.
Because
so if you're keeping this around, you better be beating them down really hard, or it's just not really it's not gonna work out. And a lot of the time, even if you like give it to them, like, I don't know, the board, the card seems good if you're very ahead on life.
It really does. I mean, you play this on 2, and like, even if you just add the red, the next turn, play a 4-drop, attack them with your 2/3. Then on your next turn, you draw a card, you use it to kill their thing, you attack them. Then the next turn, you get a counter on them, attack them again. I mean, they're going to be low on life. And then you're like, here you go. At least 2 damage coming your way. I don't know. There's some upside to that. Then I can also see drawing it on turn 5 and it's just being a disaster, or anytime you're behind in a game, it's a disaster. You do have to wait till the beginning of your first main phase before you get any of this stuff. I'm skeptical, but I would not be surprised if playing this on turn 2, particularly on the play in an aggressive deck, leads to victory. Like, if you read it as I lose 6 life, but I get a mana, do 4 or 7 damage to you, draw a card, and then do an additional 2 damage to you that you have a hard time doing anything about. That is a very damage output specific card.
And you can get into the cycle of you each lose 2 life a turn, or just keep giving the opponent Zuko.
Yeah. I am skeptical, though. I am going to put it in the prove it category for Zuko. I kind of want to see what happens in different scenarios for this. So I would start off at like the C or D level for it. But I genuinely could see this thing just being a nightmare to see on turn 2, especially if you're in a slower, more controlling deck and you don't have an answer for it. Weird card. Ozai the Phoenix King is next. It's 2 black, red, so 6 mana for a 7/7 legendary human noble at Mythic rare. It's got trample, haste, and firebending 4. 6 mana, 7/7 trample, haste with firebending 4. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead, and it says Ozai has flying and indestructible as long as you have 6 or more unspent mana. So when it says it becomes red instead, does that mean that you also don't lose it? Instead of losing it, it becomes red mana that just sticks around?
Yeah. So you basically, you can just float a black and turn it into red if you want, or you just not tap your mana. But the idea here is that once you get up to 6 mana, this is just indestructible and flying. But it starts out as a 7/7 trample haste with firebending 4. It gets you 4 of the mana, or 4 of the way on there.
God, it feels like this is just a really nice curve topper for this color pair, and that it would probably lead to the game ending most of the time that you cast it anyway.
Yeah. I don't think that a lot of the extra stuff, like the indestructible part, is a huge part of this card, or losing the mana. But here's the thing, though, about losing the mana. You cast this on 6, attack, post-combat, play a 4-drop at sorcery speed. Like, that's a pretty disgusting turn.
And then also, if I play it on 6, attack with it plus anything that has firebending 2.
Yep. Then all of a sudden it's going to get flying before blocks and be indestructible, and maybe you don't even spend the mana.
So what do you think about the cost? It's 6 mana with double black, double red. Because that seems to be the only downside here.
In a color pair that I think is just okay. Like, I haven't thought it was great. I mean, it's a little early to be concluding too much of that, but
right.
I would probably give Ozai like an A minus. Like if you're in black red, this is a really good card. Like and it's a reason to be black red. Like if you having this on 6 is
just absurd.
I mean, if the way is clear on 6, and given that it has 7 toughness, it usually will be. It's kind of hard for him to block it down. Just casting this, then post combat casting a 3 or a 4 drop, like you're already in really good shape there.
Yeah. I like A for Ozai the Phoenix. I mean, this just feels like what you were saying. Like these cards are all just A at their base. This is crazy. We haven't given out this many A's in a long time.
Let me see. The next 6 cards are awesome. So.
All right, let's start with Toph Hard-Headed Teacher. This is 2 red green for a 3/4 legendary human warrior ally at rare. And it says when Toph enters, you may discard a card. If you do, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. Nice. And whenever you cast a spell, Earthbend 1. That's any spell. Okay.
Any spell.
If that spell is a lesson, put an additional +1/+1 counter on that land. Yeah, you weren't kidding. That is actually just another A.
Yeah, Toph is amazing. Great. Like any spell just goes so crazy, and then if you have lessons, you're just making like massively big lands. Keep earthbending on the same land if you want. Mm-hmm. The other thing about Toph is if you can get the 2 mana return a permanent from graveyard to your hand, make a clue card. You just play her, get that back. Then if she dies, you just get her back with it. Like it just provides this like layer of protection that's really strong as well.
Okay. Yeah, I like A for Toph Hard-Headed Teacher. Next is Boomy Unleashed. This is 3 red green for a 5/4 legendary human noble ally at Mythic rare. And this one has Trample. So 5 mana, 5/4 Trample. And it says when Boomy enters, Earthbend 4. Holy smokes. And then it says when Boomy deals combat damage to a player, untap all lands you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. And it has Trample, so like it will actually hit the opponent even if blocked some percentage of the time. And you get a 5/4 and a 4/4 for 5 mana?
I mean, I think this is an A+.
Yeah, that's really, really strong.
Yeah,
okay.
Boomy is just so incredible.
Another A+. Next is Earth King's Lieutenant. This is green-white for a 1/1 human soldier ally. This is rare. It has Trample. Oh, I love me a 1/1 Trampler. Something bad's going to happen. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each other ally you control. Seriously? And whenever another ally you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Wow. That is
Thalia's Lieutenant with Trample.
That's crazy. But for allies, but like in green white, you mentioned how it's like pretty easy to get a whole bunch of allies. In green white, it's really easy. Wow. The interesting thing about it is, do you choose to wait?
Yeah, so you get more counters by playing this last generally, or like it goes wide on all your creatures. Though technically, I guess you get the same number of total counters no matter what.
They're just all piled up on the lieutenant.
Each ally gets 1 counter. But I think that generally you want to play this like as your last creature if you can.
That's what I think
because you'd rather distribute the counters, not put them all in the same thing. But honestly, you're going to be pretty happy no matter what you do with this card. It's really, really strong.
This is, I will say, this is a build around A, though the build around requirement is low. It's easy to do. Next is Sandbender Scavengers. This is white-black for a 1/1 human rogue at rare. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. And when this creature dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay. That's fine, right?
Yeah, it's totally good. Like it's in the colors that will enable it, which is really nice. If you get it to like a 2/2, it's almost always bringing something back. Mm-hmm. And it's just not that hard to crack a clue or play another thing. This is a build around. It's like a build around B. This actually is not quite an A, not like the other cards here, but it's still a very good card.
Yeah. Build around B for Sandbender Scavengers. Next is Sokka Bold Boomeranger. This is blue-red for a 1/1 legendary human warrior ally at rare. When Sokka enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. That's nice. And then whenever you cast an artifact or lesson spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sokka. Nice.
Yeah, very solid card.
Very solid. I would give that a B as well.
Yeah, I like B for Sokka. Very good combo with his own boomerang too.
Oh yeah. Next is Baifong's Bounty Hunters. 2 black green for a 4/4 human mercenary at rare. It says whenever a non-land creature you control dies, earthbend X, where X is that creature's power. So you get a 4/4 for 4, and then whenever your other guys die, they kind of get replaced. Go ahead.
Not other. It'll if this dies, you get a 4/4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Real
So
good.
whenever anything that's a creature dies, it kind of gets replaced by an earthbended statted version of itself. Dude, that's nice.
Yeah,
That's like extremely annoying, right?
Yeah, I think that the bounty hunter is like I would be pretty happy with 4 mana 4/4 dies into a 4/4, right? Like that's a good card. And if they don't kill this first, if they're not able to, it just makes combat a nightmare for them. So I like A- for Beifong's bounty hunters.
I do too. And
it's really hard to lose out when you play this card.
We talked about the sacrifice stuff too. There. Next up is it Iroh? Is that what you said?
Iroh, yeah.
Yeah, Iroh T-Master. This is 1 red-white for a 2/2 legendary human citizen ally. It is rare. It says when Iroh enters, create a food token. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have target opponent gain control of target permanent you control. When you do, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on that token for each permanent you own that your opponents control. So
this is a weird card, but I think it is pretty strong in the right circumstances. So you play this, you make a food, and then you immediately give the food to your opponent, and you make a 2/2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a reasonable baseline. But obviously, there's more from there, because the other thing you can do in the late game is you start giving them lands. And when you don't need the lands anymore, and then now, because right now the food they can sacrifice to stop future triggers of Iroh from being that great. But,
okay.
But then later in the game,
because the counter thing, okay.
You could then start making, like, you give them a land, then you make a 3/3, then you give them a land, you make a 4/4. Like it actually scales up pretty nicely.
Yeah, that seems very difficult for them to beat.
Yeah, so I think that overall, Iroh is probably like a B, but in the late game, he actually starts to get pretty dangerous.
Definitely. And you can tap that mana first and then send it over, so you're still like developing your board or whatever. I like that. That's an interesting design too. Next is the Lion Turtle. And this is 1 green-blue for a 3/6 legendary Elder Cat Turtle with Vigilance and Reach. So you're getting a 3 mana 3/6 Vigilance Reach. There has to be a catch. It says when the Lion Turtle enters, you gain 3 life. Has to be a catch. The Lion Turtle can't attack or block. There we go. Unless there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard. But it does tap to add 1 mana of any color, even if it can't attack or block at that particular time.
Yeah, I like this card a lot, because you play this, gain 3 life. It's like kind of like a mana dork, and then you end up being able to just attack and block with it pretty quickly in this color combination.
You just have to build
your
around
third
it
color
a bit.
for Teamer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I like B for Lion Turtle. This is a card I would be pretty happy to
definitely
to start with.
It gives you just enough on the front end and definitely enough on the back. Next is Fire Lord Azula. This is 1 blue, black, red for a 4/4 legendary human noble at rare with Firebending 2. And it says, whenever you cast a spell while Fire Lord Azula is attacking, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy.
Yeah, so this card is a beating if you have instance.
It's amazing. It feeds into what Firebending, some of what Firebending is trying to do. Firebending, has certain spells that are seeded in this set so that you can cast them during your combat step. And then it also, though, of course, feeds into activated abilities of creatures, which this is, not doing. But it is a 4/4 mana with Firebending 2 that gives you that really scary upside. I mean, you only need to do this once, maybe twice, right before you're already just like
once
got
you're
a hammer lock
feeling
on
pretty
the
good.
game.
If you cast a lightning attack with this and lightning strike 2 of their things,
Forget it. Yeah. So
you're-
the only
you're kinda getting
question for me becomes: is there a deck that you want to play here that this mana works for? Like, is this red black splashing blue?
I think it's just Grixis, where you could be primarily blue, black, splash, red, I think a lot of the time, but you could be red, black, splash, blue. The reason I think primary blue is good, because blue, I think, is just a very strong color and has card draw, which works kind of nicely with this. One of the best things to copy with this is the 5 mana time ebb thing that makes a clue.
Yeah. I mean, that card's just been
Lost
a joke.
Days. That card is quite
Turns
strong.
out when you make removal spells into 2-for-1s, they're pretty good, even if they cost 5.
Yeah. And the main problem with the Azula is that she costs 3 colors and has to live to attack, and you have to have an instant. That is not nothing, right? There's a fair amount of kind of like finickiness there, setup costs. But the mana in this format is pretty good. You have Aang's Journey, you have common tap lands. Blue has a lot of card draw. Card draw does eventually fix your mana. And I think that she is worth trying to build around. I do think that like she's a bit vulnerable. Like she's not always going to work. And even when she works, if you don't have a good spell, like you're not getting that much out of it. But overall, I think Azula is quite strong and a card I wouldn't mind kind of dictating the direction of my draft either.
So build around elements to it, but what do we think? B+ for Firelord Azula?
Probably like a B.
B?
There's just a lot of times when this is just not quite going to work out, you know?
Yeah. This doesn't have any type of evasion or anything. It wouldn't be shocking if this had haste or some nonsense, but it doesn't. Next is Toph, the First Metal Bender. This is 1 and Naya. So 1 red, green, white for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally at rare. It says non-token artifacts you control are lands in addition to their other types. Okay, my mind is kind of bent by that. And it says at the beginning of your end step.
I still can't figure it out.
Yeah. At the beginning of your end step, Earthbend 2. So that's clues aren't really affected by this, but
no,
yeah.
The first line is just nothing for limited, really.
Okay.
But it's just she's metal bending, you see. And you can put the earthbend counters on those artifacts if you had them. But I think mostly what you're looking at Toph for is just 3/3 for 4. Granted, not difficult to cast for, but a 3/3 for 4 that is end of your turn metal bends, and that's pretty strong.
Earthbends, yeah, for 2.
Earthbends, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty good. I mean, I don't know. Am I jumping out of my chair for that? Not really. I mean, if it sticks around, it's probably going to win you the game at some point. Gives you some inevitability.
Yeah, I think that Toph, this is not like Azula where it's like, okay, if you have the mana to cast Azula, she can be really strong. It's like if you have the mana to cast Toph, it's fine, but it's not.
I assume it's easier to cast Toph. I mean, this does have green in its primary cost. Yeah.
Basically, I think I would splash for this if I was green red or green white, and you know that you had the wherewithal to do that. But I don't think I'm gonna take this card really early and think it's amazing or anything.
Yeah, I would give it a B. I would give Toph the First Metal Bender
I like
B. Next up is Katara the Fearless. This costs green, white, blue for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally at rare. And it says, if a triggered ability of an ally you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Man, I have been on the bad end of Katara the Fearless. It's a little on the Winmore side in the sense of like, it doesn't do anything itself, but when it does hit, it triggers allies, and then all your stuff that was going to go just goes and just, bury your opponent. It is a 3-mana 3/3 ally in and of itself, which is already pretty good. It's in the core ally colors, but it does ask you to splash. And from what I've seen, green-white doesn't really need the help. Blue-white doesn't really need the help. Maybe you just throw it in there, but I'm a little skeptical about, like, I do wonder if Katara the Fearless is like the thing you really need in these decks rather than just something that kind of puts it over the top.
Yeah, I think she's probably worth building around. She looks pretty strong to me.
I mean, it is nuts when it goes off, like depending on what you've got, but you don't need much.
Yeah. And the allies have a lot of triggers.
They have a lot going on there. So many triggers.
She looks like a build around B. Like she looks a little bit like Toph, where like you'll stretch your mana for this. It'll work in some decks, but you're not gonna like go completely out of your way to play this.
Next is Aang at the Crossroads. This is 2 green, white, blue for a 3/3 legendary human avatar ally at rare with flying. So 5 mana 3/3 flyer. When Aang enters, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When another creature you control leaves the battlefield, transform Aang at the beginning of the next upkeep, and Aang becomes Aang Destined Savior, which is a 4/4 legendary avatar ally with flying. And it says land creatures you control have vigilance, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, Earthbend 2.
I mean, this is an A. It's banned mana for a 3/3 flying that will probably put a creature into play. So you're getting a really good deal. And then when any one of your creatures leaves the battlefield, other than this, of course, it transforms into a 4/4 flying that's just earthbending every turn. Like this card is absolutely absurd. So
it is.
I would give this an A. The fact that it's 3 colors probably is what keeps it from being like an A+. But yeah. I mean, 5 mana 3/3 flying, put a card that maybe costs 3 or 4 mana into play, and then this is still a massive threat. They have to deal with this.
It must be dealt with. But even just on that front end, it's A-. Like it's already right there. So A for Aang at the Crossroads. Next is Fire Lord Zuko. This is red, white, black for a 2/4 legendary human noble ally at rare. It has Firebending X, where X is its power, so 2 to start with. And it says whenever you cast a spell from exile and whenever a permanent you control enters from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control.
This one's pretty finicky, where it's like trying to combine airbending with Zuko to kind of massively pump your whole team. But I don't really like splashing or playing 3 colors for a firebending creature that then asks you to do this other specific thing. So I'm pretty out on Zuko. Like this just doesn't look like a card you really want.
So does this double trigger if I like airbend a creature? Like, am I casting this spell from exile and then it's entering from exile? Is that?
No, because when you cast it from exile, it'll trigger, but then it won't enter from exile, it'll just enter from the stack. So it's like if something gets blinked for some reason, then yes, that works.
I see. If it's entering from exile. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I agree with you. Especially for the mana cost, this feels like it's asking a little bit too much.
Yeah, I kind of think this is like a D or an F. Yeah. Like I don't think it's just going to work really.
The color trio seems off here too. Next is Iroh Grand Lotus. This is 3 green, blue, red for a 5/5 legendary human noble ally at rare. It has firebending too, but the really cool part is it says during your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. The flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. So that's already pretty cool. But get this, during your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback for 1 mana.
Yeah, just one colorless or one generic. I love this card. I think it's a ton of fun. And
Super
I think
sweet.
It's perfect for the Teamer Lessons deck, where you just basically your goal is to cast Iroh on like 7 or 8 mana, which is totally doable with ramp and stuff. Cast your best removal spell out of the graveyard and then have mana up for like Octopus form, or just play it and cast 2 spells.
Totally.
And then even if they deal with it, it's like you're in great shape.
It's amazing. My first draft deck, I had 2 of these.
Sure.
It's like that's easy. It's a build around, but I like build around A for Iroh Grand Lotus.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I agree with your play pattern too. Make sure you can get some value out of it straight away. Next up is Sokka Tenacious Tactician. This is 1 blue, red, white for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally at rare. It has menace and prowess, and other allies you control have menace and prowess. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. Man, menace is I mean, prowess is pretty good, but menace, giving your whole team menace if you have all allies is like a real problem for the opponent.
Yeah. It's no slightly odd, color trio where like Jeskai, it's like, I guess your blue-white ally splashing this, which is doable.
That is it.
But I think overall Sokka, I feel like it's just a little too hard to use. This, at least more than Zuko, has, I think, a better dream. Mm-hmm. But overall, I would probably say Sokka is like closer to like, there's like a build around B, but like you're just not putting this card in very many decks. Is my
thinking build around B as well. Next up is our last gold card. It's Avatar Aang. It costs everything but black mana. So it is red, green, white, blue for a 4/4 legendary human avatar ally. And it has flying and firebending too. And whenever you waterbend, earthbend, firebend, or airbend, draw a card. And then if you've done all 4 this turn, transform Avatar Aang. So we'll read this just for fun, but I mean, we're now at 4 colors and activating 4 abilities, although it does give you at least firebending on its own. It becomes Aang, Master of Elements, which is a 6/6 flying legendary avatar ally with spells you cast cost Wooburg less to cast. At the beginning of each upkeep, you may transform Aang, Master of Elements. If you do, you gain 4 life, draw 4 cards, put 4+1/+1 counters on him, and he deals 4 damage to each opponent. I mean, that's all fun, but I'm kind of checked out at this point, right? Because I like putting like a really nice long goalpost out there for me to do month 3 of a set, but like I don't plan on this actually happening at any point in a game, right?
I don't think you're going to flip it very often, but
casting it maybe.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. The casting it is the challenge. I think overall Aang is probably not the easiest to use. Just the 4th color is a lot. Very good when you have it. Flying, firebending too, and then when you attack, draw a card is a pretty good space to be in.
Mm-hmm. And then any of those other bendings just get you more cards. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. And I like it. I mean, go nuts, right? If you're going to set the bar that high, then you should, draw 1,000 everythings. I mean, it's a build around card, right? You don't just, you have to have a specific idea in mind of a deck that can get to the late game and create all 4 colors of mana. Maybe a 2-card combo with that one lesson that gives you, whatever your lands tap for anything. Maybe you have the green guy that lets your allies do it. A couple of other combos besides just dual lands. Then Avatar Aang, if castable, is awesome. It is a very good card. So build around wise, I guess I would give it an A, maybe an A minus, something like that. But that's a build around, so it's kind of specific. Okay, we've got 3 artifacts. They are all mythics, as it turns out. The first one is called White Lotus Tile. It is 4 mana for an artifact mythic rare. It enters tapped, and it taps to add X mana of any one color, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. I don't even want to count. I mean, so I can add a bunch of mana for my allies or something.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
It's again a 4 mana ramp spell. So
yeah, I'm just out.
I don't think we're in for this. So
it also doesn't help me cast Avatar Aang particularly. Next is Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong, which is 6 mana for a legendary artifact at Mythic Rare. It has the activated ability 1 tap it to scry 2. And it says whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Do this only once each turn. I played this card, Luis. I have had the Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong, and I built a control deck around it, and it was good. It is slow, but you're effectively drawing at least 2 cards a turn and getting to cast one of them for free. That is an avalanche of stuff that your opponent has to deal with. It also allows you to skirt normal casting time restrictions. Like you can cast creatures in the middle of combat with this, if you can scry them to the top, etc.
Yeah, so this is a really strong
it.
card if it gets rolling.
Mm-hmm. I would not give it an A. It is a build around in the sense that you do have to get to this level of mana and have a little bit of breathing room to really kind of let it start going. But if you can ramp it out, or if you have a deck that's controlling enough to kind of get you there, this will provide you with a tremendous late game advantage. So I would give Planetarium a B+ from my experience. What do you think?
Exactly my grade. Basically, if you can live with this in play, you're going to win the game pretty quickly. So you just need to kind of make that happen. And the way to do that, typically ramp spells can be okay. Yep. Good blockers.
Last artifact is called the Walls of Ba Sing Se. It is 8 mana for a legendary artifact creature wall, mythic rare. Luis, the stats on this card is 0-30. It has 30 toughness. It has defender, and it says other permanents you control have indestructible.
What a funny card. I mean, the Walls of Ba Sing Se are a big part of the show, so you can see this is, I think, a really
they wanted to make a big splash with it. Okay, that makes sense then. But an F.
Yes.
It is an F. Yeah. So now we've got some lands. The first one is called, it looks like there's one for each color in this cycle. It's called Abandoned Air Temple. It's a land at rare. It enters tapped unless you control a basic land. That's true for all of these. They tap for their color. In this case, this is the white one. And then they all have an activated ability. The activated ability on this one is 3 and a white, tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Holy smokes.
Yeah, this card's really good. It's basically free and really powerful. So I think this is probably an A- level card. Like, your opponent's just going to play this and activate it, and you're going to be like, oh, I guess I lose. And it's just an untapped land. It doesn't really cost you anything.
Wow, I'm really impressed by that. Yeah, I would give it an A, which is weird. These don't normally get that much. Let's see if it holds up. The next one is Agna Kella. And this is the blue version, and the activated ability is 2 and a blue, tap it to draw a card, and then discard a card. Man, if it was going to be on the level of Abandoned Air Temple, I would expect it to just be draw a card.
Yeah, it's not quite as good, unfortunately.
No. This one does seem okay, but I would give it more like the C+, B- range.
Yeah, basically the other 4 of them, you're just not activating all that often. You might sometimes. Abandoned Air Temple just gives you all that value right away.
There's not even a timing restriction on the Air Temple either. Just middle of combat, I can just throw counters. I'm like, okay. Next is Realm of Ko. This is the black one. The activated ability is 3 and a black, tap it to create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with this creature can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creatures. Yeah, that doesn't seem that great either. I mean, I generally don't mind it since, like you mentioned, it's more or less free. If you're playing black, to have it in your deck. But 4 mana for a marginal 1/1.
Yeah, that's not really where I want to be.
It's a lot of mana.
I mean, it is nice that if the board stalls, you make one of these, attack them for 1, next turn make a second, they're just almost dead. That's
right.
You're talking 2 to 3 unblockable damage a turn. But I've had this in 2 decks and activated it 0 times. So it's like,
and it didn't ask anything else of you. So it's not, if you could get spotted one of these for free, you would just take them every time. But I think people are going to be taking these higher since they're rare and they stand out a little bit more. I would give this one like a C+, B- again. Similar to the blue one.
Yeah, I think so. It's free. And sometimes you'll use it, but most of the time you're not gonna really have a good shot to use it.
Next is Fire Nation Palace. This is the red one. And
this one's also free.
The activated ability is 1 and a red, tap it. Target creature you control gains firebending 4. Okay. Until you meant it when you said free. So this actually just nets you 2 mana.
Nets you 1 mana because you have to tap this also.
Right. So it gets you a mana.
Yeah, I mean, if it all works and you can spend all the mana, it gets you 1 mana, which is at least this. I think you could envision a red deck that uses this pretty well,
like most turns or many turns.
Yeah, you're just netting mana every turn. So I actually think this is more like a B+
okay.
I think the aggro firebending deck, I think, would be pretty happy to have this card because they're already built to optimize firebending. So you play this and it's like, all right, plus a 2 mana land. That's pretty sick.
Next is the last one, which is the green one, Ba Sing Se, which the activated ability is 2 and a green, tap it, earthbend 2 at sorcery speed. No, that's pretty good again. Yeah, that's making a creature. It does require a lot of tapping though. 3 mana plus this, and then ideally you'd want to put it on an untapped, thing so you could block with it. But even then you don't have to do it that way. So yeah, Bossing Say seems to be in that upper territory, not the Abandoned Air Temple level, but on the higher
it's like
one.
Abandoned Air Temple, and then like Bossing Say and the Fire Nation Palace that I think can both be pretty good. And then Realm of Ko and the Agna Quella are like the worst of the bunch, but like still obviously totally fine to play.
I'd give a B for Bossing Say though. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had a one game I lost straight up to this card.
Okay.
Like we both traded off cards and it was just like I make a 2/2 every turn.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
I like that. Next land is called Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop. It's a land at rare. It taps to add colorless mana, or you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color, but you can only spend the mana to cast an ally spell or activate an ability of an ally source. Or you can pay 5 mana and tap it to create a 1/1 white ally creature token.
Yeah, I mean, this is similar where it's like mostly you're playing it for the 5 tap ability, which you hope you don't use that often, because I would bet that if you were able to look into get the analytics, where games where you activate Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop or Realm of Ko are probably games where you're losing. It just means you've run out of things to do.
Right.
So
exactly.
I think if you're 3 colors, this is still kind of a bad mana source, because you just don't want a land that doesn't tap for colors for like half your deck. Even if you have 14 allies in your deck, you still have 10 other cards or 9 other cards that aren't allies, and this does not help cast those. So
right.
I would still play this in most ally decks. It's just not like an amazing card. I think it's like a C+.
Right. And that's really what we're talking about with these more expensive costs.
This one's not free. Like the other lands are free. You'd never cut Bossing Say from a green deck. Never. Right. Even Fire Nation Palace. Like even if you're a deck that's really bad at using it, it's straight up free. Just play it. The Jasmine Dragon Tea Shop, not free.
Not free. Last land is Secret Tunnel. It's actually a cave. It's a land cave at rare. And it says this land can't be blocked. It taps to add colorless, and you can pay 4 mana and tap it to have 2 target creatures you control that share a creature type not be able to be blocked this turn. So if this thing picks up counters, it also just happens to be unblockable if you earthbend onto it.
Yeah.
I'm just so skeptical of lands that can only. Yeah, yeah, right. I'm so skeptical of just lands that can only, tap for colorless mana. I don't know about Secret Tunnel, but I would start off with a low grade on it. I would give it a D.
I would say it's a build around B, where like if you're really heavy on earthbending, it's kind of nice. Like I feel like you could definitely end up in a deck where you just like put a couple counters, then earthbend again. It's like 7/7 unblockable.
Yeah, it could be. I just so worry that I'm going to have my opening hand be like, Forest Secret Tunnel, and I'm just like, God dang it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I honestly, it's probably like a C, like a build around C if you have a lot of earthbending. The other thing that is kind of nice about the land is like if you have an allies deck, you have to have 2 creatures. Like it only works with 2. Like it's pairs or none. There's a song about this card actually, about the Secret Tunnel.
Okay.
It's called Secret Tunnel.
Okay.
Secret Tunnel.
Is this in the series?
It's in the series, but it's an actual song you can listen to on Spotify.
Oh, okay.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that sometimes like this is going to be one of those cards where you think you've locked up the game against green white, and then they're going to top deck this and make 2 allies unblockable and hit you for 6, and you're going to die.
Well, you're the one who really loses here, Luis, because you're going to get the screenshot and me complaining about it when that happens.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
But
I would still give it like a C.
Around C or something. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the cards in the regular set. So that's really the bulk and the most important part of our set review. But we do have a full bonus sheet plus, I guess they're separate, two extra kind of sheets that we do want to go over, though we do tend to go over them more briskly because there's more cards that are just basically completely out of place or unplayable, and we'll just kind of go right through those. So
a lot of sheets. In the words of Clay Davis, to go through.
with an S at the end.
It's really important.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to speed through some of the cards that are obviously really terrible and talk about the ones that are interesting.
Yeah. And so if we dismiss one, it's because we don't see any place for it and you can basically ignore it. First card is called Brought Back. It's white for an instant. Choose up to 2 target permanent cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Return them to the battlefield tapped. And by the way, it's worth noting, these are all reprints, right? Every one of these.
Yes, every one of these cards is a reprint.
Yeah. Here's one that I don't like straight away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Brought Back the. If you target one permanent, you're it's not very good. It's a situational, like kind of like instant speed back to the thing. Like I saved my creature, but super situational. And if you don't have it at the right time, it's really, really bad. The good news is if you combo it and can get 2 back, like that's pretty strong. It's just how are you getting two things dying in the same turn? Is the main issue I have.
And there's just too much setup stuff. I mean, it has to be from the battlefield. Like you can't have discarded these or whatever, milled them. Also, they come back tapped, which is like a pretty big bonus.
Yeah,
not
if
bonus.
They kill your blocker, and then you have this. It doesn't really help you do that. So
I would just say
I think
F.
this is an F. Yeah, I don't want to play this.
Next up is Mayor Tong of Chin Village, which is Dranith Magistrate. So this is 1 and a white for a 1/3 human wizard, and it says your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than your hands. Does this have an interesting thing with airbending?
Yeah, if you airbend their stuff and you have this one, they just can't cast them.
It gives me Containment Priest vibes, in Cube.
The biggest problem is that yes, you combo that, and then at some point they kill this, then it just like unlocks their stuff. So
the House of Cards kind of falls apart.
Yeah, it's not like Containment Priest where when you flash in Containment Priest, their things are just gone forever.
Right. Would you, if you had an airbend deck though, and you opened Mayor Tong, would you be like, hey, let's go for that? I mean, it's not asking. I wouldn't hope to first pick
this card, but it's a 2-mana 1/3. I would play this if I had a couple airbending cards in my deck. Yeah.
Okay. So there you go. Build around B- for Mayor Tong with the airbending deck. Next is Empty City Ruse. This is white for a sorcery. Target opponent skips all combat phases of their next turn. No.
Yeah. F.
That's an F.
Move on.
Next is the Mechanist Tactical Tinkerer, which is Leadham Mechanical Engineer. It's 2 and a white for a 3/3 legendary artifact creature, Artificer with Vigilance. It says at the beginning of your end step, untap each other artifact creature you control. And then you can pay 3 and a white and tap it to create a 5/5 colorless vehicle artifact creature named Zeppelin, artifact token, named Zeppelin with flying and crew 3. God, what is this from? This is a reprint. I mean, this must be.
Yeah, I'd never really seen this card before. So it's 3 mana, 3/3 Vigilance, and then you can spend 4 and tap it, make a 5/5, but it's crew 3. So
you can make a crappy vehicle, but you can just kind of keep
doing
it. Yeah.
And they kind of have Vigilance.
They kind of do.
So yeah, I don't know. I
would definitely try it out. It's a 3 mana 3/3. Like,
yeah,
but maybe it's good.
I'm not really too excited about this card. I think it looks like a C. Like you could look if you play this as a 3 mana 3/3 and then the board stalls out. Like
it will take over. It will take over. Next is Release to Memory. This is 3 and a white for an instant. Exile target opponent's graveyard. For each creature card exiled this way, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token that doesn't have flying.
It's a spirit that can block the other spirits, but it doesn't have the weird unblockable thing. I think this card's kind of like an F2. Like you're just not playing against people whose graveyard is going to be big enough, and you need to make like 4 creatures before you really feel like you're up to something. If you make 2 or 1, it's terrible. If you make 3 is kind of on par. But if you make 3, you have to balance it with all the times where it didn't make 3, and it's not usually making 6. So I kind of think it's an F as well.
Agreed. Next is Scout's Warning. This is white for an instant. The next creature card you play this turn can be played as though it had flash, and you can draw a card. So it adds an additional cost to that, but it also just lets you get the card back. Do we have room for cards like this in our decks? I mean,
usually no. Usually we're not into this.
I just feel like I would need a better reason. it's hard to like come up with anything really bad to say about Scout's Warning, but my guess is that it's a non-priority. It is not a high pick, and it wouldn't make the cut in the deck that often. So I would just give it a D.
Yeah, I agree.
Next is Aang's Shelter, which is Teferi's Protection. It's 2 and a white for an instant. Until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out, and then you exile Aang's Shelter. Basically purely a defensive card, right? It just doesn't have any...
Yeah, this is an F. I just don't think you should play this card. It just doesn't... There's very, very few games where casting this lets you win the game, and you would lose if you didn't have it. Because in a game where you're winning or ahead, this doesn't do anything. In a game where you're losing or behind, you have to also be winning, like killing them. Like if you had 3 unblockable spirits and they're at 3, yeah, you could do this. Boom. But that's just not how games play out typically. No. So F for Aang's Shelter.
Next is 3 Dreams, which is 4 and a white for a sorcery. Search your library for up to 3 aura cards with different names, reveal them, and put them into your hand, and then shuffle.
F.
Nope,
there's not even auras in the set, really. There's not very many.
Okay, this one's cool. Agent of Treachery. Remember this guy? 5 blue for a 2/3. And it's a human rogue. When this creature enters, gain control of target permanent at the beginning of your end step. If you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, you draw 3 cards. But this is 7 mana, 2/3 steal, their best thing.
Yeah. I mean, Agent of Treachery is awesome. I would happily play Agent of Treachery in any deck that is blue. Like, yeah, you have to get to 7 mana, but like once you do, this is
a
pretty
devastating turn.
I will say this though, and I forgot to mention this when it came to Azula, the blue-black Azula that steals things. Airbending is such a beating against this kind of stuff. Like I have lost when I've gone Agent of Treachery and then they just airbend their creature and steal it back. So
that's rough.
Be warned that there are some matchups where these are really going to underperform.
Yeah. But still, it will perform well if in other circumstances. Next is Bribery. 3 blue sorcery. Search target opponent's library for a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control, then they shuffle. You know, we've been talking about how this feels like a pretty princely format. And even though Bribery can sometimes lead you to overpay or get something that doesn't really jive with what your deck's doing, it kind of feels like it's going to be worth it here, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it has the same airbending issue.
Yeah. Oh, it does. Oh, no. Airbending's ruining everything.
But no, I think Bribery is a strong card. Like typically 5 mana is worth, like their best creature is worth 5 mana. And airbending aside, now they can't draw their best creature, which is pretty nice.
And by the way, you get it. Yeah. Kill them with it. What grade would you give Bribery?
I'd probably give it a B.
Would you take it as like a BB plus level card? Yeah.
Yeah, it varies. I mean, if they have like a really good 6 or 7 drop, like you could be getting some good value there.
Oh boy. Next one. Goat tier Clone, going all the way back to alpha here. 3 and a blue for a 0/0 creature shapeshifter. You may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield. How does Clone sit with you?
Clone is interesting. I like
clones generally.
You will at least have the best, or tied for the best creature, which I think is nice.
Mm-hmm. How does airbending work with Clone?
It's kind of interesting. The Clone goes away, and then you end up being able to.
You can
recast it, and then choose something else. So you might end up kind of missing. Where like you clone something really good and then they airbend and then that thing goes away. But yeah, you could also get an upgrade. You could airbend your own clone on purpose if there's something really good in play. So I think that Clone is probably like a B.
Yeah,
like you should always play this card.
I'm not cutting Clone for my blue deck. B for Clone. Clone Legion is 7 blue for a sorcery. For each creature target player controls, create a token that's a copy of that creature. That's generally an extremely powerful spell, but it's just too much to cast. Yeah. So F for Clone Legion. Next is Force of Negation. 1 blue instant. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it. And if it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Such an important card in Cube, but is it even important in regular limited?
I don't think it's going to work out particularly well in this format.
Looks like
I just think like looks like a D. Maybe you would side it in and like if they have a Wrath or something.
Right.
But for the most part, I don't think it's very good.
Imprisoned in the Moon is 2 and a blue for an enchantment or enchant creature, land, or planeswalker. Enchanted permanent is a colorless land with tap, add colorless, and loses all other card types and abilities.
I really don't like things that turn their things into mana, just like with the honest work card we saw before. So I think that I would give this a D. It's just a really bad way to go about killing things.
Agreed. Next is Intruder Alarm. This is 2 and a blue for an enchantment. Creatures don't untap during the controller's untap steps. Whenever a creature enters, untap all creatures. It's just really brutal to be the person to pay for this. So F. Mystic Remora. This is blue for an enchantment with cumulative upkeep 1. If I need to tell you more, I'll read on. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 4. No way. I mean, they'll just wait you out. Next
I love this card too.
It's a great card, but no way. Next is Prosperity. This is...
I told you we'd be speeding through these things.
No kidding. Blue X for a sorcery. Each player draws X cards. No, that's another F. Judy Public Servant, which is Sakashima of 1,000 Faces, is 3 and a blue for a 3/1 legendary human rogue. You may have Judy enter as a copy of another creature you control, except it has Judy's other abilities. The legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control, and I guess it technically has partner, which I assume isn't relevant here.
No, you're not choosing this as a commander or anything.
Right. So it's another clone, but it's just worse?
Yeah, well, it's a clone that you can clone legends, but it's worse overall because it'll end up not being a 3/1 at that point. It'll just be whatever it clones.
So it's a 3/1 if you don't clone something.
Yeah, but it's worse because it can only pick your creatures.
Yeah,
so
that's
overall
lot worse.
Quite a bit worse than clone. So this is like a C. Just you can clone your own legend though. That part is nice.
Okay, this is goated. Standstills in this set. 1 and a blue for an enchantment. When a player casts a spell, sacrifice this enchantment. If you do, each of that player's opponents draw 3 cards. So basically the idea is to be on the play, cast this on 2 before your opponent does anything, and then just stare at them until they either stop hitting land drops or decide to get impatient and just break the standstill.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny card. I don't think it's particularly good.
It's a hilarious card to watch people play. If somebody plays it against you, do you ever break it?
Well, you sometimes have to. Like, imagine if they go like 2 mana 2/2 and you play tap land go, and then the next turn they play a 1-drop in a standstill, or just play standstill. Like, you can't just take 20 damage from their creature. You do have to break it. They're not going to.
But assuming there's nothing on board.
If there's nothing on board, it's just a weird game. Like those games can be pretty cool. But
it usually becomes about hitting your land drops. I don't know. What do you want to grade standstill? I mean, because there's also these horrible things where you draw it when you're behind.
Honestly, it's an F. Like I love the card. I think it's a pretty fun one, but it's just not very good.
F for standstill. Next is Training Grounds. This is an enchantment that costs blue. It says activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana of that to less than 1 mana. Generally, this is also an F unless there's some type of combo.
No, that's enough. Like I said, they have a lot of pretty medium ones here.
Oh, this one's sweet. Visions of Beyond. Blue for an instant to draw a card. If a graveyard has 20 or more cards in it, draw 3 cards instead. That rarely happens, though it can. It's not a lesson, which is kind of important since there are multiple payoffs for either casting or having lessons in the yard. I mean, I would assume that this would be taken at like the D+ level or something where it's like if you just need another spell, you have a lot of prowess stuff, whatever.
Yeah, it's basically a cantrip, and once in a blue moon, it'll draw 3, but I wouldn't really count on that. So, yeah.
D+.
I mean, it's pretty hard for that to happen. It's like a D, yeah.
Next is Black Sun Zenith. Black X for a sorcery. Put X -1/-1 counters on each creature, and then you shuffle this back into your library. That's a real sweeper. You know, even if you can't get it enough to literally kill everything, you're still shrinking it all down.
Yeah, what's kind of nice is you can deck them by just casting this every turn. It's kind of like the Regent from Tarkir.
It is a 1-card win con.
Yeah, so I think
I would give it a high grade. I mean, this seems very solid in this set.
Yeah, it's a great card. I think it's probably like an A- or an A.
Yeah, I think so too.
Next, feels like you can do some good stuff with it.
Yeah. Next is Bloodbender's Rise. This is Bloodchief Ascension. It's black For an enchantment, at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, you may put a quest counter on this thing. And then whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if this enchantment has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life and you gain 2 life.
Yeah, this is another one that I think is an F. It just doesn't do anything.
Speaking of Fs, Cruel Tutor, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Search your library for a card, then shuffle and put that card on top of your library. Then you lose 2 life. Get out of here.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Good God.
I'll pass on that one.
Fire Nation Tank Train, which is Noxious Gearhulk. This is 4 black for a 5/4 artifact creature construct with menace. And when it enters, you may destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed this way, you gain life equal to its toughness. This might be the best card in the set somehow. This is to me an A+. I mean, this is what I want to have an A+.
It's exactly what you want. Like, I mean, I think the Gearhulk really does the trick. It's a great card. We've played with this one before. I would give it an A. Like, I don't know, A+, sure. You're not passing this card very often. It's going to win you a lot of games.
Next is Blasphemous Act. It's 8 and a red for a sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield. Blasphemous Act deals 13 damage to each creature.
It's a wrath.
It is a wrath. You know, you usually end up paying like, I don't know, 5 or something like that for it, 4 or 5, and it kills one of your guys and 3 of theirs or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's like probably an A-. Like the biggest challenge, well, maybe what drops it to like a B is I don't know that the red decks are that well suited for this. I guess Teamer Lessons is where I would want this. You spend a bunch of time doing this thing, and then
definitely,
and you're casting card draw, and then you just cast this. So probably like an A in Teamer Lessons deck.
Yep, agreed. And then the more aggressive decks, much less so. Next is Azula, Flame of Ember Island. It's 3 and a red for a 1/1 legendary human advisor. It has tap, destroy target creature of your choice, then destroy target creature of an opponent's choice. Activate only during your turn before attackers are declared. Yeah, no.
No, this is not good. There's no real way to get an advantage out of this.
Next is Dockside Extortionist. This is 1 and a red for a 1/2 Goblin Pirate. When this creature enters, create X treasure tokens where X is the number of artifacts and enchantments your opponents control. Nope. That's just not reliable, and it's a random Goblin Pirate, so that's another F. Fervor is next. 2 and a red for an enchantment. Creatures you control have haste, not worth a card. This is from a day way back in the day, Weatherlight, where this might have been worth a card, but it probably never was.
No shot. It's worth 3 mana on a card these days.
Next is Humble Defector. This is 1 and a red for a 2/1 human rogue. It taps to draw 2 cards, then target opponent gains control of this creature. You can only activate it during your turn.
There's some interesting combos with this because you can like tap it and respond by sacking it, but it's kind of hard to pull off, and it's not that good by itself.
What would you want to give it?
A C. It's a 2 mana 2/1 that sometimes does a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, C sounds right to me. Next up is Insurrection. 5 red for a sorcery. Untap all creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. They gain haste until end of turn. You know, it's interesting because you kind of think, well, this better say you win the game on it. It doesn't quite, but it's pretty close. I mean, this, red decks have creatures, and, if you get to this level, I just think the only thing holding it back, I mean, it's 8 mana. It's a sorcery, right? So, like, you can't firebend it out. Like, that's the way that red has to get, like, a whole bunch of extra mana going. I mean, is there a green-red ramp deck where this 8 mana thing is worth it in your mind?
I don't think so. It's just too expensive is my problem. Like, I just don't think that you're going to end up in a spot where this card actually ever hits the board and you get to use it. I think it's an F. I just don't think you're going to get to 8 mana.
This is an interesting one because I am curious about your grade for it. It's Lightning Bolt. So it's red, instant, does 3 damage to any target. Like, we like to give in the A range for hyper efficient removal. This is one of the best removal spells of all time. Can we just give it an A?
Yeah, we can just give it an A.
I mean, I think it it's not in the same category as the other things, but this is just absurdly efficient removal. Next is Mirror Wing Dragon. This is 3 red for a 4/5 dragon with flying. It says whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell that targets only this creature, that player copies that spell for each other creature they control that the spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. So if they use a removal spell on this, that removal spell gets cast on all of their stuff. Each of their things.
Yeah, so it's kind of enrollable to removal, or at least most removal spells. And then if you cast a pump spell on this, you can go pretty hard too. Mm-hmm. But mostly it's a 5-mana 4/5 with resistance to removal. That's pretty good with flying. That I don't mind. I would give Mirrorwing Dragon probably like a B+.
I would too. Very solid. Next is Rending Volley. This is red for an instant. It can't be countered, and it says it does 4 damage to target white or blue creatures. So we have a pretty classic.
Yeah, this is a sideboard card. A very good one. I would always side it in against either of the colors, but it's like a sideboard B.
Next card is nasty. It's Searing Blood. It's red for an instant. It says Searing Blood deals 2 damage to target creature. When that creature dies this turn, it does 3 damage to the controller. This thing piles on.
That creature will die this turn. It's when that creature dies. It is saying it is happening.
It is, and it does.
Not if. Yeah, I mean, this is a good card in a heavy red deck. It's really good in an aggressive deck. This is what you want with like firebending stuff. So yeah. I like B for Searing Blood. It's pretty easy to cast in this set.
Definitely. Next up is Shattering Spree, red for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact, and it has Replicate red for red. So that's another sideboard on this card. Next is Volcanic Torrent. This is 4 and a red for a sorcery with Cascade. Volcanic Torrent deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker your opponents control, where X the number of spells you've cast this turn. And it has Cascade, so I guess it kind of spots you one there.
Yeah, this one seems hard to use. I think that if you can combine this with like a firebending lesson, so you can, for 6 mana, you're going to get 3 damage to each of their creatures, plus you get that shock or a cantrip or whatever. Because by itself, I mean, 5 mana to deal 2 to all your opponent's stuff, that's not that bad, given that it also casts a spell off the top of your deck.
Right.
I would give this a B. I think that this card's pretty strong.
And there's some matchups where it's going to be really good. Next is War.
Also, when you hit a 4-mana spell off this, like they're going to be in a world of hurt.
Next is Warstorm Surge. That's 5 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control enters, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Very difficult to make this type of card work.
Yeah, it's like a build around B, where if you can have the right proportion of like ramp and protection, but also creatures, and then cast this, and then cast creatures. It sounds like a lot, and it is. But if you cast this, then untap and cast a creature, and you're not dead, like you probably start to win that game pretty fast. So there is at least a payoff. I have had some very fast games in this format, but I've had a lot of games that go to like turn 10, turn 12, and this is the kind of card that can win those games. So I like build around B for Warstorm Surge.
Agreed. I played it, and it played out exactly like that. Next is Beastmaster Ascension. This is 2 and a green. For an enchantment, whenever a creature you control attacks, you may put a quest counter on this enchantment. As long as this enchantment has 7 or more quest counters on it, creatures you control get +5/+5.
This is a Feast or Famine type card where if you can cast this with like 3 creatures out and get an attack in there, you kind of win the game because you get like 3 counters on, next turn attack with 4, and that's it.
Yep.
My recollection from playing this card back in Zendikar, which is admittedly a very fast format, is like it didn't work ever, or at least rarely worked. I don't think this is going to be that different. I think it's probably closer to an F. I don't know.
Yeah, the key is to try to line up the last attack so that gets you to the 7, and then that.
I mean, there's going to be games where you can make some tokens and like do the thing and have it like it does crush. But man, 7 attacks is a lot. When they see this coming, they're going to make as many trades as possible.
Exactly. And on top of it, if you're behind, it's absolutely horrendous. So I would start off by just saying ignore it. But you're going to lose a few games to it here and there. Next is Elemental Bond. This is 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control with power 3 or greater enters, draw a card. It does seem to fit in the format. It does have a mild cares about creatures with power 4 or greater sub-theme, and it even spots you a few there.
Build around B.
Yeah.
Like in the right deck, it's going to be good.
The Banyan Tree, which is the Great Henge. Oh, nice. 7 green for a legendary artifact that costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. It taps to add green and you gain 2 life. And whenever a non-token creature you control enters, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. Dude, this card's great.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a 4-power creature in play, this costs 5 mana.
Right.
That's not that hard.
No.
It immediately adds mana and gains you life. So like it even plays to the board even if you can't play a creature. Once this gets rolling, you can't lose. All your creatures are big and replace each other. So
yeah,
I would give this an A, and I would just put this in a creature-heavy deck, and when you draw it, you're probably going to win.
I would too. I mean, it has the baseline of you gain 2 life a turn. Don't forget that. Next is Heartbeat of Spring. Oh God, 2 and a green for an enchantment. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, that player adds 1 mana of any type the land produces. This is like the classic, like don't play around with fire type card. And you definitely don't want to be the one to spend the mana and the card to play this while your opponent just dumps their hand the next turn. That's an F. Next is Heroic Intervention. 1 and a green instant permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn.
This is a D. We've seen this card a bunch. It's just hard for it to actually work out and go wide.
There's no use case for it helping you actually win the game. It just, is purely defensive. Next is Earth Rumble Triumph, which is Return of the Wild Speaker. This is 4 and a green for an instant. You can choose one. You can either draw cards equal to the number of equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, or give non-human creatures you control +3/+3 until end of turn.
There's a lot of humans in this set.
There's a lot of humans.
I don't think this is going to work out great. I would probably start by giving this a D. And if you have a lot of non-humans, it works, but it's gonna fail a lot more often than you would like.
Rites of Flourishing is 2 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Each player may play an additional land on each of their turns. Again, you just don't want to be the one to have paid the card and the mana for this, right?
No, it's an F.
Next is Taunting Challenge. 1 green for a sorcery. All creatures able to block target creature this turn do so.
Another F. Look, in a board stall, this could do something. It makes everything, get through. But like, imagine going for it and they have a bounce spell.
Right. Or airbend. Yeah, I forget.
It's just too many times. This is just a straight blank. So F for Taunting Challenge, which brings us to Suki of the Kyoshi Warriors, which is Captain Sisei. 2 white-green for a 2/2 legendary human soldier. Tap, search your library for a legendary card and put it in your hand. So if you have two other legends, I'd probably play this, especially if they're good, which they tend to be. So I would give Builder on B for Suki. Just take a couple of their targets.
Lifelong Friendship is green-white. It's Aladmary's Call. This is instant. Search your library for a creature card, reveal that card, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle.
This is a C. It's at least cheap enough. We're usually down on tutors, but 2 mana is not that bad.
And the creatures are good.
If you have some good creatures to get, I would play this. I would not play this unless I had at least one like A-level creature. If you're getting like Bs and Cs, not a good card. But if you have like one A-level creature and then like a couple good ones, probably worth it. So C for Lifelong Friendship.
Next up is Fevered Visions. This is 1 blue-red for an enchantment. At the beginning of each player's end step, that player draws a card. If the player is your opponent and has 4 or more cards in hand, this enchantment deals 2 damage to that player.
I love this card, and I think that if you can draft a really aggressive deck, so it can be pretty sick. So the reason that the way that you kind of break the symmetry on this is they take damage, if they have too many cards in hand, and you don't, right? So like this is dealing extra damage. Well, like we mentioned with the Legend of Yang Cheng, when players are both drawing extra cards, the limiter's time to use all those cards, and a way to limit that time is the damage. And Fever Vision makes all the bounce spells really strong. A blue-red aggro firebending deck probably would play this card. I think actually can make an argument for it. So this is another only use if you know what you're doing kind of card. But I would try playing Fever Visions and blue-red aggro, and I think it's like a B-level card in that deck.
Yeah, and you know something about this card. Next up is Join the Dance. This is green-white for a sorcery. Create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens, and you can flash it back for 3 white-green. Ah, man, they're not allies.
You can tell this is a bonus sheet card because it doesn't make allies.
Yeah, exactly.
I would still play this.
Would
if
you?
I was green
Yeah,
white.
it's close.
2 mana for a 2/2 worth of stats, and then you flash it back at 2 more. That's totally fine. It's a C plus.
C plus. This next one I'm really unhappy to see. It's the monstrous
Such
serpent.
an unpleasant card. I played against this card a lot. Like, it was also a good card in Constructed back then.
Yeah.
It's just an obnoxious card. I'll handle this. This is
Please,
the monstrous serpent.
you handle. I can't do it.
It's 3 green, green, blue, blue. It's Coma, Cosmos Serpent. It's a 6/6 legendary serpent. It can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, make a 3/3 blue serpent creature named Coma's Coil. It sure does drop a lot of coils on your opponent. And then you can sacrifice another serpent to choose one. Tap target permanent. It can't be activated this turn. Or the monstrous serpent gains indestructible on a turn. You can even tap down lands. Sometimes you would tap your opponent's lands on upkeep by sacking 3 of these. But mostly it's like 7 mana for an uncounterable 6/6 that, as long as they don't kill it before their upkeep, it gains indestructible now because you have a 3/3 to sack to it. And it can tap down any creatures it wants. It's just, this is an A. It's got a, awkward casting cost, but blue-green's a good ramp color. You should just take this card first pick and draft a ramp deck. It's going to be awesome.
I've already lost a match to it. Next is Zuko Redeemed, which is Reese the Redeemed. This is a green-white hybrid, so you can pay either green or white for a 1/1 legendary elf warrior. 2 different activated abilities. You can pay 2 and a green or white. Tap it to make a 1/1 green and white elf warrior creature token, or you can pay 4 and either double green, double white, or white green, and tap it. For each creature token you control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. It is a powerful card. It is a little slow. 3 mana to make a 1/1.
My guess is this is probably closer to an A than a C. Like, I'll probably give it a B plus. But it's a 1 mana card. If your opponent plays Zuko on turn 1, you're not thinking like, oh, that's kind of expensive to use. You're thinking like, oh man, I got to kill that thing.
Yeah, that thing's annoying for sure. And then they only had to invest 1 easy to cast mana.
Yeah. So the 1-drops are just so OP. 1-drop cards are just so powerful. So I give a B plus to Zuko Redeemed, just on virtue of it's so cheap. It's also pretty flexible. You take this first pick, you could be 2 different colors. It's great.
Yeah, that's nice too. And any relevant 1-drops are so good. Next is Cityscape Leveler. It's 8 mana for an 8/8 artifact creature construct with trample. And when you cast this spell and whenever this creature attacks, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tapped Power Stone token, and then you can unearth this for 8 mana as well.
And a Power Stone is an artifact that taps for a colorless, and you can only use that. You can't use that mana to cast non-artifact spells.
Right.
So you can only cast artifacts with it, but you can also use it to activate things or for water bending in this set. I like Cityscape Leveler. I would give it a B. It's a build around B because it costs 8 mana, but it's 8 mana and will win you the game when you cast it. And if it doesn't, you can unearth it, and then it'll probably win you the game. So
right. And you get that destroy a non-land permanent right away. I mean, when you cast it happens.
So I like B, build around B for Cityscape Leveler. Just build your deck to cast 8 drops.
Meteorite is 5 mana for an artifact that when it ETBs, it does 2 damage to any target and it taps for 1 mana of any color. Is there a deck that wants a Meteorite?
I don't think so. It's just such bad fixing, such bad ramp. It's not even good to airbend that much. It's just okay. So I would give this a D. It's not like a disaster if you have to play it.
2 bad tastes that taste bad together. Next is Sundial of the Infinite. It's 2 mana for an artifact. It says it has activated ability 1, tap it, end the turn, activate only during your turn. Okay, that's an F.
This is an F. There's very few applications. Next, we have The Boy in the Iceberg. It's Dark Depths. It's the land where it enters with 10 ice counters on it. You pay 3 to remove an ice counter, and when it has no ice counters, you sack it to make a 20/20 black Avatar creature token. It's such a perfect flavor fit because it literally is an Avatar. It's Merit Lodge, but it's the Avatar in this set. Unfortunately, this is an F. Just no reason to play this card.
No, you have to cheat
spend
this
30 mana to do it. There's no Thespian Stage.
Right. Next is Fabled Passage. It's also a land.
Wait, why didn't they put Thespian Stage in the bonus sheet? They even have the Ember Island players. It'd be like a perfect setup, and then you could have Stage Depths for the 1 out of 5,000 drafts where you see both.
That would have been dope. That would have been cool. Next is Fabled Passage. It's a land at tap. You can tap it and sack it to search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Then if you control 4 or more lands, you untap that land.
Yeah, totally playable card. It's like a C+. It's just a good fixing land.
Sunbay Canyon is a land that you can tap and pay 1 life to add either white or red mana, or you can pay 1 mana, tap it, and sacrifice it to draw a card. If you
Also
are
a good
playing
card.
red-white, are you just always running Sunbathe
I'd always
Canyon?
play this. Red-white also is rarely a really controlling deck,
Right.
so I'd be happy with this. I would typically not. I would play this if I was just red or just white and aggressive. So like blue-red aggro probably does play this card too.
But like if it was the blue-black one, you'd be more skeptical. Next is Tarnished Citadel. This is a land that taps for colorless, or you can tap it and add 1 mana of any color and have this land deal 3 damage to you.
This is an F. Do not put this card in your deck.
Next is, the OG TTV, Treetop Village. It's one of the first really great creature lands. It's a land that ETB's tapped and adds green, but you can pay just 1 and a green to make it a 3/3 trampler until end of turn.
What's the creature type?
Eep.
Oh, good. You left that out. That was important. Look, Diligent Zookeeper gives us a bonus. Treetop Village is awesome. It is hard to explain how good it is by reading it because it is better than you think it is if you haven't played with it.
It is
I
excellent.
played with this card and constructed a lot, and it used to be in cube, all that thing. It's just really big for how much it is to activate. And
It is
the trample is also
undercosted.
relevant too.
Yeah, to get that thing up.
I like B for Treetop Village. I would take this pretty early.
And if you earthbend on it, just more trample
Oh,
damage.
yeah. No, if you earthbend on it and you activate it, now it's like a 6/6.
Oh, yeah.
It stacks the way you want it to. It's now a 3/3 with 3+1/+1 counters. When you activate it, when you
And
don't
trample.
activate it, it's just it's whatever the earthbend number is. It's always a creature at that point.
That is cool. Last card out of the main bonus sheet is Volcano of Roku's Island, which is Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle land. It enters tapped. Whenever a mountain you control enters, if you control at least 5 other mountains, you may have this land deal 3 damage to any target, and it taps for red. I mean, this does actually seem like a legit payoff for the mono red deck, which they, at least seeded 1 card per color to try to push that to.
Yeah, I think it's probably too hard to pull off most of the time. Like I remember trying to get Valakut to work, but that was in Zendikar, which is really aggressive. I could see it. This is probably closer to like a D, but I do think it's pretty good.
Okay, so now we've got 2 more, I guess there's scenes now, the Black Sun Invasion scene. These are the ones that appear very, very rarely versus the sheet that we just saw, but still we'll go over them. First one is Appa the Vigilant, 5 white for a 6/6 legendary bison ally with flying and vigilance. And whenever Appa or another ally you control enters, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain flying and vigilance until end of turn. Well, it's 7 mana, but that is a game ender.
You're going to win a game a lot the turn you cast this. And flying and vigilance means, not to mention the ++1, but flying and vigilance means that like you just play this, even if it's not lethal, you play this, hit them for like 7 and all your stuff's untapped.
Yep.
And you have a 6/6 flying vigilance. So I like A- for Appa. This
I
is
do too. It's 7
expensive,
mana.
but game winning.
Yeah, exactly. Next is Katara's Reversal, 2 blue instant, counter up to 4 target spells and or abilities, untap up to 4 target artifacts and or creatures. Nah.
I don't think this really
It's
is
basically a
anything.
4 mana counter spell, and that's too much to
so
pay.
it looks like an F.
Next is Fire Nation Turret, 2 and a red for an artifact at the beginning of combat on your turn. Up to 1 target creature gets +2/+0 and gains Firebending 2 until end of turn. You can pay red to put a charge counter on this artifact, and you can remove 50 charge counters from this artifact to do 50 damage to any target. Love it. So obviously we're mainly playing it for the getting +1 or +2/+0 and the Firebending 2 for my creatures. Would we do that?
I don't think that the 50 part matters that much.
But for the first
I'm interested in +2/+0 and Firebending 2. If you're a deck that's already built to use those things, it seems pretty legit. Like you play a creature on turn 2, you play this on turn 3 attack and play an instant speed spell or something. Seems kind of good.
Yeah.
Turn 2 Fated Fortune Teller, turn 3 this, attack, crack the clue.
Yeah.
That's money.
That's pretty good.
I like build around B for Fire Nation Turret. If you're good at doing this, it's a strong reason to do it.
Swamp Benders is 4 green for a star human druid ally. These are all technically rare, but they appear much less often than regular rares. Swamp Benders' power and toughness are each equal to the number of swamps on the battlefield. Yikes, this costs double green. Lands you control are swamps in addition to their other types. You tricked me, Swamp Benders. So it's
so it's 6 mana 6/6, but also if you play against black, it's now all of a sudden like a 9/9 or a 10/10.
Right. So yours are always all swamps, but theirs might be swamps and can make it even bigger.
Yeah. So how big would this
care.
have to be before you're into it? If it was always a 9/9,
it would be close to 9/9, but just all right.
Not like amazing. So I like, I don't know, C for swamp benders. If you just need a big thing, that's what it is.
Sokka's charge is 3 and a white for an enchantment. During your turn, allies you control have double strike and lifelink.
This looks like a build around B to me.
Yeah,
I would
me
just
too.
play this in my allies deck. And
I would
that's
too.
Not barely a build around because there's so many allies. You land a good hit of Sokka's charge.
Yeah.
You bought yourself a cushion. So the biggest drawback with this is you play against a removal deck that doesn't care about your life total. This is kind of like a blank card.
Yeah,
like,
you just want to have
weak card.
This is one where you want to max out on creatures. Like you really want this to be one of the few non-creature spells in your deck. Earth Shape is 2 and a white for an instant. Earthbend 3 at instant speed. Then each creature you control with power less than or equal to that land's power gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. You gain hexproof until end of turn. Whatever. There's a bunch of extra text, but mainly it's Earthbend 3, it looks like.
Yeah, and you can Earthbend 3 and can like save one of your small creatures.
Like one of your 2/2s or something.
Yeah, I can imagine that working out kind of nicely.
I mean, I just like instant speed.
You can also Earthbend onto an already Earthbent land to save a bigger creature.
Earthbend, like a combat
This looks like a C+ to me.
It looks pretty decent.
Play the card.
All right, we got 6 more cards. Luis, are we okay to hit those, or you want me to
have to handle the last 6 because
Okay.
I got.
Cool. I just wanted to give you an
for a sign off. I did want to mention that you got to link the Fevered Vision video.
I will
We're both
do that.
in it. It's this weirdest YouTube video. It's very short, and I just don't know how to explain it. So I would highly recommend you watch it. It is very short and very funny.
I will put a link to it in the show notes. Great job, Luis.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I'm gonna go watch that video again, but not right now because I do actually have to go. All right, cheers.
All right, Luis. We'll see you. Yeah, Luis had to run and pick up the kids, so I'll just handle these last 6 cards. This is the Tea Time at the Jasmine Dragon scene. Again, these ones show up very infrequently compared to the others. The first one is Mai and Zuko, which is 1 blue, black, red for a 3/5 legendary human noble ally with firebending 3. You may cast ally spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. This actually doesn't do it for me. It's weird because it's kind of in the off ally color trio in a way. It's difficult to cast. And then I don't really value artifacts and allies casting at instant speed very highly. So I would actually give Mai and Zuko a low grade, like a D. The payoff just doesn't seem worth it to try to get this thing into your deck. Next is Aang and Katara. This costs 3 green, white, blue for a 5/5 legendary human avatar ally. And this says, whenever Aang and Katara enter or attack, create X 1/1 white ally creature tokens where X is the number of tapped artifacts and or creatures you control. So 6 mana, 5/5, but I need to kind of have some tapped artifact or creatures to make it worth it. That actually seems somewhat difficult. Like I kind of assume you could make 1 or 2 maybe. Doesn't have flying or anything either. Whenever it attacks, that's better because you could just attack with a bunch of things and then spit out a bunch of 1/1s or at least get 1/1 out of this. Yeah, this seems okay to me. I would go B+ on Aang and Katara. It's in the right colors for the allies, and it does feel like you could kind of set yourself up to be able to create quite a few ally tokens. I just wish it had a little more stats on its own. 6 mana, 5/5 is like kind of blah for a triple gold card like that. Next is Toph, Greatest Earthbender. This is 2 green, red for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally. When Toph enters Earthbend X, where X is the amount of mana you spent to cast her, which I guess is 4, land creatures you control have double strike. Okay, that is awesome. So you can Earthbend X was caster. It's just 4, right? I don't know. What am I missing here about? You can't spend more, right? Anyway, 4 mana, Earthbend for land creatures you control have double strike. Yes, please. That looks like an A to me. Next is Sokka and Suki. Oh, that's right. Producer Jeff reminds me that that's for commander. So I guess if Toph is your commander and has died and then you're casting it again, it could be 6. Thank you, producer Jeff. Next is, so for us though, still makes a 4/4 double striker and a 3/3 for 4 mana. Yes, please. Next is Sokka and Suki. This is blue, red, white for a 3/3 legendary human warrior ally. Whenever Sokka and Suki or another ally you control enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature. Whenever an equipment you control enters, create a 1/1 white ally creature token. No, thank you. That looks like an F to me. Equipment's not a key. There's some around, but it's not like a key part of this set. And for triple, 1 of each color, that's a little too much to ask. Next is Momo's Heist. This is 2 and a red for a sorcery. Gain control of target artifact. Untap it, it gains haste at the beginning of the next end step. Sacrifice it. No. I guess I would give it a sideboard grade because it technically does just kind of destroy an artifact, but that is not how I'd want to go about it. And the last card is Uncle's Musings, which is 2 green for a sorcery with Converge. Return up to X permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell, and then you exile it. So I guess you get up to 3 that way. Green plus 2 additional colors. These type of cards just typically don't play well. They're better than draw 3. I'm assuming you're maxing out. It's better than draw 3 in the sense that you're getting spells. They're permanent cards. I guess you could technically get lands, but you know what I mean? You're getting good stuff back, but it's worse in that you need to have them in the yard. And sometimes you don't have the targets or you don't have the 3rd color of mana, and then you're only getting 2 things, and that's definitely not worth it for 4. So I would give Uncle's Musings probably just an F. Like, it just seems too slow for the modern limited environment. Okay, there it is. There's our rares review. And Luis was right about the Prince nature of the format. It really does feel like we gave out more A's than normal here, and I wouldn't be shocked if we get a good chunk of the way through here and kind of go, these rares are definitely making their mark on the format. The removal is decent, but it does seem maybe a little geared towards smaller stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see. Okay, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We want to say thank you to our Patreon supporters as well as Ultimate Guard for supporting us. If you want to find us on social media, Marshall_LR and Luis's LSV. You can also find everything related to the show over at lrcast.com, where we have every episode of the show ever recorded there. You can go back and listen to old set reviews. Maybe you're even listening to an old set review right now. Hello, future person. Again, lrcast.com for that. That's going to do it for this one. We'll be back with more next week. We'll see you then.